From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dawdley, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
I think GB News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, we saw you on television. I say, oh yes, on what? On GB News. Hello, are you the famous Sue?
The whole crew hid me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here, right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again.
You just tuned in. Where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Very good evening, good morning, live from Washington DC. This is Bev Turner on GB News with the stories shaping Great Britain and the United States of America. Coming up tonight. Today, it looked like World War III was about to start. Now we know it was a couple in deck shoes, possibly sipping Pimm's, who were the recipients of Russian warning shots. GB News, though, spoke to the owners. We'll play you that.
Well, Alan and Jane Kelvey, who I spoke to, said that they didn't see any flares sounded, and they said at no point were they on a collision course. They acted within the regulations.
Also tonight.
First time in 32 hours.
Sleep well, Mom.
Good morning. Okay.
So Keir Starmer has scrambled to deny that President Trump snubbed him after the pair did not have a one-to-one meeting at the G7 summit. Is this the Prime Minister's swan song on the international stage? You won't be happy if it is. Also tonight.
There was a phone call once where she tried reporting me missing and she said I was being picked up by Asian men and I was being abused. Now the call handler said back to her, you can't describe them as Asian men because that's racist.
An independent report into the grooming gang scandal has recommended deportations of every foreign national convicted of group-based child sexual exploitation. We'll have the reaction to that this evening. Also,
I'll tell you what, Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody.
This was quite fascinating. The president took a fresh shot at Israel in their action against Lebanon today. Is America running out of patience with Netanyahu? Plus,
it's free speech until it's against what they want to hear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who says free speech is dead for Brits? England kick off against Croatia in their first match of the 2026 World Cup tomorrow, today, for you. But if you dare chant an anti-Starmer song, you're going to be chucked out of the ground. I'm not joking. Ben Leo is nearby the stadium in Dallas with all the fan reaction. I'm Bev Turner. This is The Late Show Live. Warm welcome to The Late Show Live. Joining me in Washington this evening, US political analyst Eric Ham is here and reporter for Reason magazine, Reem Ibrahim. How are we, folks?
Great.
Amazing. So excited for the World Cup. Oh my God, I'm so excited to see England beat Ghana.
Good luck with that, Reem. Well, they probably would beat Ghana, but that might be it. Anyway, I'm going to be getting in the World Cup spirit probably from tomorrow onwards. In London, we've got 3 more hours of Paul Cox. Who doesn't love that? And Labour councillor Stuart Fawcett is with us as well. Gentlemen, how are you?
Lovely, thanks, Bev.
Paul said I can do the jokes tonight.
Oh, good. Somebody has to. Nice to see you, Stuart. Right, thank you all. Let's go on to our main news this evening. A Russian warship fired warning shots at a British yacht in the Channel yesterday. This frigate, known as the Admiral Grigorovich, fired near a British-flagged civilian vessel after the 2 ships sailed close to each other. Now, it is the second incident involving a Russian vessel in the Channel in 72 hours after Royal Marines boarded a Russian shadow tanker on Sunday morning. But GB News exclusively spoke to the retired couple who, it turned out, were just basically on a sailing boat. They came under Russian fire. They told GB News they didn't do anything wrong. And Will Godley spoke to them. Will Godley, here's his report.
I spoke to them on the phone as they docked in Cherbourg in Normandy this evening. The couple, a retired couple from Britain, on board this sailing yacht. They are very well adverse to sailing on this vessel, their pride and joy in their retirement. It's a journey they've done across the Channel from the UK to France multiple times, but their journey today somewhat different, and they say left them shocked. And despite their shock and just wanting to decompress from it all, they really wanted to get their account of what happened across on GB News, because of course it comes after the Russians in their statement said they were on a dangerous approach and they fired warning shots after attempting to draw the attention of the yacht's crew through signal flares and sound signals. The Russians, of course, said they acted in strict accordance with international shipping regulations. Well, Alan and Jane Kelvey, who I spoke to, said that they didn't see any flares sounded, and they said at no point were they on a collision course. They acted within the regulations. They saw this warship from a long way away. They said the conditions out at sea were normal. They said fog was not there. So they got a good view of this warship, but they weren't able to make out what the boat was because they turned their transponder off. So they knew it was there, but weren't heading towards it, going round its starboard side, they told me, keeping a wide berth of half a kilometre. But despite this, the Russians, clearly tetchy and wanting to make known that their presence was there, firing off these warning shots. But before they'd done those shots, Patrick, they also sounded 5 blasts of their horns. Now, the couple were telling me, of course, they're well-adverse sailors, that this is the international symbol for and signal for you need to change course so we don't crash into each other. So that's exactly what this couple did. They changed course by 2 degrees. They were under sail, and when the shots were fired, very shocking for them, they turned their engines on to make a getaway. Now, the couple say they heard the shots at 11:01, so some 7 hours into their voyage. And at that point, they dialed 999, called the Coast Guards, and they were there in just a few minutes. They praised their speed at which they got there. But Patrick, when I asked them why they thought this had happened, well, they said it must be because of what happened in the Channel earlier this week, of course, pointing to the fact that Royal Marines seized that Russian shadow tanker vessel. And they say that's why they were in this situation.
Will Godley there reporting on what was no doubt a very interesting day for that couple. Let's speak now to European security expert Elizabeth Braw. Elizabeth, this afternoon, it looked like World War III might be on the cards. It looked like we were being invaded. And indeed, the newspapers have run with this rather embarrassingly. I had a little bit more scepticism, I can't lie. When I saw this afternoon, I thought, oh, come on, if Russia's going to invade us, this isn't how they're going to do it. What did you make of it?
Well, I wasn't as dismissive as you, I have to say. It is a serious matter when the Russian warship near the UK fires warning shots, and we should remember that these are congested waters, and anything could have caused it to fire warning shots. A legitimate reason, and perhaps not such a legitimate reason. It turns out to have been a legitimate reason, but this is a ship that is in the business of escorting shadow vessels, which is why it's sailing near the UK in the first place. So its presence is not exactly welcome even under ordinary circumstances.
Tell our audience what you mean by shadow vessels.
Yeah, so shadow vessels are vessels that sail outside the official shipping system. There are hundreds of them, about 1,500, between 1,200 and 1,500 estimated today. Many of them, a very significant number of them, transport Russian oil. This is how Russia generates revenue for its war against Ukraine. The reason that Russia exports oil on shadow vessels rather than officially sailing ones is that it wants to export its oil above the oil price cap. So in violation of Western sanctions, which means that legitimate sailing vessels can't transport that oil. So you have this shadow fleet that transports Russian oil every single day from Russian ports through the Baltic Sea and then through the English Channel. It is a dangerous procession of vessels, and because countries in the Baltic Sea region, but also lately the UK, have said that they are going to board vessels that violate maritime rules. Russia has announced that it's going to have Navy vessels escort those shadow tankers, which is why this Admiral Grigorovich was there in the first place.
Okay, Elizabeth, thank you so much. European security expert Elizabeth Braw there. Let me ask my panel about this. Let me come to you, Reem, because the response from the front pages of the papers, we can have a look at them maybe here, is that there was a load of editors, almost, you get the sense, they're almost excited. We're going to have a war. Yeah. This is exciting. Russia is finally here. And I was sat at home going, oh, come on. This isn't, if Russia's going to start invading us, this is not how they're going to do it. Shooting at some sailing yacht. We now know, thanks to GB News and their interview, that it's a couple probably just having a lovely time and sipping Pimm's.
You're absolutely right. I mean, if Russia are going to invade and they are going to start World War III, they are not going to do it with a small, tiny little boat with an elderly couple sipping Pimm's. I mean, that's just not what's going to happen. I do think what's interesting is the way in which media tends to overreact with any of these stories. And of course, we know that the things that sell are sex and death. And if the prospect of more death is occurring, then of course that will sell news. And of course, it means that on social media we end up becoming entirely hysterical over a completely non-story.
I mean, look, somebody might play this clip in the next few weeks if we genuinely do get invaded by Russia, and this will get
and that elderly couple were Russian spies,
and this will become a viral meme right now. But Eric, this reaction at the front page of the British papers, what do you make of it as an American? How we respond to this perpetual threat of Russia?
Well, here in the United States, we do see Russia as the boogeyman.
Oh, so do we. Look at these papers.
And to be clear, also, and I agree with you both. This is not the way Russia is going to invade. In fact, I think it will be clandestine. What we have typically seen from Russia in terms of how they have attempted to thwart U.S. and democracy as well as the rest of the West. This, I think, is just more aggression by Russian ships, and the fact that they're framing it as Putin's ship opens fire as if he's there with his hand on the trigger shooting at this elderly couple, that's not it. But again, I think it's a way to try to shape a narrative that Putin is still very much the enemy.
Yes, Paul Cox, let me come to you on this. You know, we can all agree that Putin is very much the enemy. He doesn't have our best interests at heart, let's be honest. But I wonder whether the reaction is because we're waiting based on the fact that we've been primed by how poor militarily we are. We keep hearing it. We've had the Defence Secretary resigning. We feel vulnerable as a country, and suddenly, guess what? They're here. Is that what's happened, Paul?
Yes, I think to some degree it has. It's also linked to what happened at the weekend and linked to the much wider problem, which is that we are defensively very weak because of decades of underfunding. And the optics are terrible because this happened in a fairly narrow stretch of water between the Isle of Wight and northern France. And somewhere between the two is the line which draws English waters and French waters. I don't know, and I've tried to find out, whether they were in English waters or not. Irrespective, the idea that Deirdre and Derek, on their retirement holiday, are just sailing across to Bordeaux to pick up some delicious rosé, come under fire from the Russians, is a bit of an issue.
Actually sounds good.
What do you mean by that? You mean we should be taking it more seriously than I am doing at the moment? I mean, Russia have said, look, it's foggy. We were just letting them know we were there. Am I being naive here? But Stuart, let me come to you. Am I being naive? Are Russia literally a shot across the bows?
I mean, look, there's two ways to look at this. I can speak from a political point of view, and that as a former naval officer. And we should be calmly concerned about Russia's presence in British waters. We are seeing increased naval activity, both with submarines and undersea cables. And now they are testing our defences to see what our capability is to defend our own waters. Now, in this particular case, they weren't within territorial waters, but very likely within either ours or France's exclusive economic zone. And they do have right of innocent passage to pass through. And there are an international set of rules that say how ships should avoid each other. It looks like that ship was what we would call not under command, i.e., yes, it had a captain, but it wasn't answering to its own steering or engines, essentially. And they were probably trying to let that yacht know that. Now, warships do want to keep other vessels away from them, inherently, of all nations, generally speaking. They don't want them closer than a mile, so it would make sense to me. But why I think we should be concerned is the fact that this is yet another Russian vessel off the coast of the United Kingdom, and we need to take another very serious look at our ability to defend ourselves in home waters when instances like this come up. So in this instance, it's a situation where a warship has taken quite procedural action, but the fact of the matter is now, this is now increasing. You mentioned earlier about what Russia may do if it wants to provoke action. It's not necessarily going to do this. I mean, the Defence Secretary, the Minister of the Armed Forces said earlier this week, it's probably going to be using drones, and we really do need to look more closely at that one. But in this circumstance, as I say, I think we should be calmly concerned because Russian naval activity is increasing off the coast of the United Kingdom. They certainly do wish to test our defences, and in this particular case it's highlighted it when both two vessels have right of innocent passage according to international law.
I would love to be a fly on the wall in President Putin's office this morning, tomorrow morning, as he looks at these front pages of the British newspapers and realises what a reaction he can get just by firing a few shots at a yacht.
But we're also missing a really key detail here, which is that Russian warship had broken down at the time by these reports. It wasn't answering to what you might call not under command, and it's quite a key insight. What does that mean? So essentially, if a ship can't steer or it can't make way through the water, it can't sail in a straight line, it looks as though this ship wasn't able to manoeuvre as it should have been. And that's a really interesting insight to Russia's military apparatus at the moment, because they're testing a lot of boundaries in a lot of different theatres. And if this is happening, like it did in a previous instance when there was a submarine transiting the channel that looked as though it suffered breakdowns that could potentially have polluted waters around it, it was quite unstable. This is another real key insight into the state of Russia's military apparatus.
So Derek and Deirdre could literally have been hit in the fog by a ship that wasn't under its own control. Is that right? I mean, effectively, it's on kind of autopilot, waiting for the maritime equivalent of the AA to rock up, Stuart. How does this work?
Yeah, well, sadly, there is no AA. You know, saving lives at sea and keeping lives safe at sea is obviously a very serious matter. But yeah, it looks as though, to me, this ship wasn't able to manoeuvre through the water as it might have wanted to, and therefore had to take these measures in order to keep others away from it. Now, look, ordinarily speaking, as I've said, warships of all nations generally tend to want to keep civilian craft away from them, and in most cases they will steer around them in order to achieve that. But they obviously weren't able to do that in this case, and they took action to avert them coming any closer. Important to kind of note whether those rounds were live rounds. It doesn't look as though they were command weapons, so it wasn't like the main gun or anything you would see on there, but more like small personal arms, which would be a little bit more difficult to sink even their yacht.
I do have something to say.
Sorry, very quickly, Stuart, I just wanted to ask, what is the law around international warships in English waters? Are they actually allowed to, are they actually allowed in English waters? Was the Russian warship breaking the law? Is there something there that we need to be concerned about? Was it completely acceptable? We allow them to be in British waters? What is actually the law here?
So they have right of innocent passage, which is a set of international regulations that Britain and Russia has signed up to, which is where all warships, as long as they are not conducting any overt or even covert military operations, that they can pass through the territorial waters of other nations. Now, Russia hasn't always necessarily abided by this. The Royal Navy has been called out with its fleet-ready escorts many times to monitor them because they've been conducting operations. We now know about the monitoring of undersea cables, which could be a threat to Britain's security. But a ship passing through international waters, a warship of any nation, that is permitted under the right of innocent passage. What is not permitted is when they're carrying out surveillance.
Paul, did you want to say something on this?
Yeah, there's just it feels like there's a little bit of information missing here, because we have actually spoken to the couple, who I've now colloquially called Deirdre and Derek, and that's going to stay for the entirety of the show, by the way. And my sources tell me that Deirdre is a waspy woman, hasn't received her pension yet, and is incredibly angry. So that was pretty dangerous straight away. However, they did say that they adhered to the warnings. I think there was 4 or 5 toots of the horn from the Russian ship, which is international language for "get out the way, I am absolutely massive." and the second thing, they said they tacked 2 degrees, which means they got completely out of the way of where they were going. So they'd adhered to any of the warnings. So it feels unnecessary to have fired at them.
OK, so a little bit of detective work there from Paul Cox. I didn't know that was a string to your particular bow.
Yeah, I'm a pretty serious journalist underneath this moustache.
International maritime detective here.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we do need to take into account the fact that Russia is losing this war against Ukraine. Ukraine has been able to hit Russia very deeply inside of Russia. We know there was a huge embarrassment with the summit that Putin held a week ago in St. Petersburg. And so this could just be an instance where Putin again wants to project strength to the West, to somehow suggest that he still has the ability to be a threat, even though what we're seeing right now in Ukraine says anything but.
But to Stuart's point, the fact that all of the papers have completely gone absolutely ballistic over a potential Russian warship in our waters, I mean, it does show that they kind of do have that strength.
Yeah, they are the bogeyman. Like, we are always slightly on tenterhooks, aren't we, about Russia, and it's been like that for decades.
Yeah, and it comes at a time when at the G7 we see that the G7 now is saying that they're ready to implement additional sanctions on Russia. So this could be, again, another proverbial shot across the bow at the West for what Russia sees as another attack on them.
Well, that's okay, because if they do decide to invade the UK, at least we have a fantastic relationship with America. who will come running to our aid when we need it. We're going to be talking about that relationship between Starmer and Trump as the show goes on, because they've obviously not had the warmest relationship today. Right, thank you guys. Let me know at home what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Still to come this evening on The Late Show Live.
There was a phone call once where she tried reporting me missing and she said I was being picked up by Asian men and I was being abused. Now the call handler said back to her, you can't describe them as Asian men because that's racist.
You may be aware of this by now, but Rupert Lowe's independent inquiry into the grooming gang scandal has been published. We're going to hear from GB News' national reporter Charlie Peters on that next and get an American perspective on what happened. This is The Late Show Live, only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there.
With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. We're going to be going to Ben Leo soon, who is basically with the crowds building up to tomorrow's England World Cup football match in Dallas. And it's been announced that people who chant mean words about Starmer might get kicked out of the stadium, so you don't want to miss that. The reaction of the fans down there. First, though, the independent report into the grooming gang scandal has been published in full today. It's full of harrowing testimony from victims and whistleblowers. The report is spearheaded, of course, by Restore Britain leader Rupert Lowe MP and suggests the gangs, quote, operated with either the active or passive consent of public authorities. GB News national reporter Charlie Peters has a package to explain all the details on today.
Well, today marks 1 year since Baroness Louise Casey released her grooming gangs investigation, the independent report, the audit commissioned by the Prime Minister last year. And on this anniversary, we heard from the National Crime Agency their Operation Beacon Port, the national investigation set up as one of the 12 recommendations from Baroness Louise Casey, they are now sending 8 cases back to police forces to be reopened. These are grooming gangs investigations that will now be reopened. They've been selected by the force as a priority after they received over 1,200 cases from 23 police forces that matched a set of criteria that they advertised and wanted to be sent into them. We also have the sudden release of a report by the Restore MP, Rupert Lowe. It's a 219-page report, a crowd-funded inquiry that he set up last year. It took evidence earlier this year from several victim survivors, family members, and campaigners. And the report is packed full of very disturbing testimony from victims about what they endured right across the country. It is full of new information about trafficking and about more of the horror of this abuse scandal. But perhaps most interestingly in the report are the recommendations made by Rupert Lowe and his team, this inquiry being led by the Rotherham survivor, Sammy Woodhouse. Now, first and foremost, they call for tougher criminal penalties, a minimum tariff of 50 years for ringleaders, but also life imprisonment as the starting point for those involved in organised, group-based child sexual exploitation. They also recommend the deportation of all foreign nationals convicted of these crimes and the removal of British citizenship of dual nationals convicted of those offences, followed by their deportation. They also call for an investigation of community organisations and also religious institutions such as mosques alleged to have protected or aided offenders. And they also talk about further investigation of wider communities that have aided the offenders, pointing a particular focus towards Pakistanis in the United Kingdom, where there has been a prevalence of this form of offending. More broadly, they also call for a dedicated National Crown Prosecution Service unit focused on group-based CSE, and they also, very interestingly, call for an overseas task force, referring to some of the evidence that the inquiry heard.
So Charlie Peters there, bringing us fully up to speed at 12:30 British time. Let's speak now to Adam Wren, the director of the Open Justice UK, an organisation fighting for transparency in the grooming gang scandal, and working with survivors. Thank you so much for joining me, Adam. Does this report do the job that was required?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of personal testimony in there that's really quite emotive, quite moving. That you wouldn't really get in a proper inquiry. It's not really the place for it. And I think there's no other real mechanism that the public would have to read or to hear that kind of stuff. I think that was worth doing.
And will the victims, do we know today, are they satisfied now, at least, that they've been heard, their stories are out there in the open? What do they want next, Adam?
Yeah, well, my experience is from talking to them that, the thing that really gets to them is that this has been a decades-long fight, and they've not been believed for that entire time. So to have somebody willing to, sit down and do the interviews with them and then present their stories in this report, I think it means quite a lot, yeah.
And does this report mean that we might see arrests?
They've said that they intend to pursue private prosecutions, which I think is quite interesting. It's an interesting project. We'll see what happens with that. I think in this country, the CPS tends to take over private prosecutions. I think this is very curious. It's never been done before. I'm very, very interested in how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, that's a little lost on me, Adam, because as you say, it's not something we've heard before. Can you just explain in a little bit, maybe, you're not aware of it in that much detail at this stage, but what might that mean? What might the barriers to that be?
So I think from the evidence that they've collected from the testimony of the survivors, they intend to pursue prosecutions against both the perpetrators and some of the, council workers and frontline staff that they allege have turned a blind eye. I think it's going to be very, very curious how this turns out, because my understanding is that with private prosecutions in the UK, which are, prosecutions that are not brought by the government, the CPS tends to step in and, forcefully take the prosecution on themselves. That could be quite difficult in some of these cases, because without police collaboration, there's not going to be the same, the evidentiary level that you need to prove rape, for example.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth pursuing. It's just something that is not typically done.
Yeah, well, and presumably quite expensive for the victims, for the young women affected by this.
Well, they crowdfunded, I think it was 600,000, which, and I presume that the money for that is that's what it's going to be used for. I think Elon also tweeted that he would fund it if they pursued it, but I don't know if he commented on it after that. It's going to be.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. I'm sure he would. Adam, thank you so much for joining us late tonight. Adam Wren there, the director of the Open Justice UK, an organisation fighting transparency. Let me ask my panel about this here. Reem, when I notice a lot being here in Washington DC, and maybe it is quite a political town, so people are tapped into this. The grooming gangs scandal is something that comes up in conversation time and time again. Have you noticed?
Oh, absolutely. It's really interesting, I think, having conversations with people in the US and hearing what they hear coming out of British media. And it's not the same way as the other way around. When you're in the UK, you constantly hear all about American stories. In the US, they don't really care about Britain, but something that they do care about is the grooming gangs, and it's something that consistently comes up in conversation. People ask me, is it really true that these young girls were raped, and because the authorities were afraid of being accused of being racist, they turned a blind eye? And people are often quite shocked by it. They might have heard it because it was amplified by Elon Musk. They might have heard it on X. They might have heard it through social media. They might have heard it because the Prime Minister promised an inquiry themselves. But it's consistent. It's one of the only things that people talk to me about, at least as a Brit. They say, hey, you're from the UK, is this really true? Because it's so shocking. The idea that authorities, the idea that social services, the idea that social workers would prioritise anti-racism over the lives of vulnerable young girls is insane to so many people, and it's insane to all of us.
Eric, as an American, do you relate to what Reem has just said? Why does it catch the imagination of so many people here?
Well, I think here in the United States, I'm not sure about this particular story or what's happening in the UK capturing the imagination of Americans. Here in the United States, we have our own issue of grooming, and of course, that is the Epstein files and how that has encapsulated so many people, and so it has become a political hot-button issue, and it has led to larger conversations about vulnerable young women here in the United States. And of course, the issue of trafficking has always, I think, been a scourge and a problem that the United States has not been able to get its arms around. And so I think when we look at what's taking place here, it's very similar to what the UK is dealing with. But again, this is an issue that even as we're seeing right now, many lawmakers in the United States are completely paralyzed as to how to deal with this, because again, like everything else in Washington, it becomes increasingly polarized, and then it becomes an issue of right versus left, as opposed to actually addressing the vulnerability that we continue to see among young girls.
I think, let me bring you in on that, Stuart, because you're a Labour councillor. These girls were predominantly in Labour-run council areas. There are Labour councillors implicated, members of the Labour Party. Labour MPs criticised for covering this up, or at least failing to deal with it properly. Is it appropriate to bring in the political angle here? I mean, frankly, the Conservatives didn't do a huge amount either, though, did they, Stuart?
I think we need to look at this in the context of the larger story, which is getting these victims the justice that they deserve, which they haven't received so far. I think the danger is that this could become politically charged and not achieve that, which is why the Casey investigation is happening now. And what's really important to note is that £65 million has been committed to fund this investigation that can compel witnesses and can actually advise Parliament on outcomes, which no other investigation investigation can, and that could also lead to prosecutions. But importantly, part of that funding is to support the victims, which I don't know if it has been made available in any other investigation. But my point upon being politically charged, I think if we start to look at this as, well, it was one part of the political spectrum, we miss the entire point, which is achieving that justice. Now, there are clearly some lessons to learn here on how directives impeded justice and investigations from happening. I don't think there's argument with that. In fact, Baroness Casey has already been looking into that in particular and has been very transparent with it. You know, and this then goes into the wider conversation about the Labour government action on violence against women and girls, and this is clearly forming a part of that strategy in response to this absolutely abhorrent thing that has happened. But you know, when I read things like saying that the recommendations such as there should be mass deportations, look, there are clearly appropriate places in which deportation is an appropriate response. But by charging it with things like that, it rather distracts from the issue of the fact that we need to get justice for these victims, identify why it went wrong, and also identify who did it.
But just hang on a minute. So shouldn't we be deporting anybody that's found to have been involved in this in some nefarious way, though, Paul?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I think thought I said it more clearly, that I think there are appropriate reasons why you should deport people. I'm not saying that is an inappropriate response, but a reaction, a political reaction, as a recommendation
and being
to say,
a rapist isn't one of them.
I'll just finish. A political reaction as a recommendation, as mass deportations has come out of this smaller independent inquiry, isn't necessarily going to achieve that justice for victims, which is more important. And that's the difference in these two inquiries. You've got victim support on the one hand with the Casey investigation, but not necessarily in the other one. And what we really need is to compel witnesses, have a no stone unturned look at exactly where things went wrong in order to deliver it. And my concern is, echoing what I've heard tonight, is that the trap is that you could look at it from a left or right perspective and attribute blame without actually knowing the facts. And that's why it's important that Baroness Casey is independent, and that he looks at it like that. She looks at it like that.
Look, often when it comes to independence or political independence, supposed independence, it often isn't the case. The question is whether or not, and look, I don't agree with mass deportations. I am a libertarian that believes in immigration, but I also think that fundamentally the question of whether or not we should deport foreign nationals who have raped British women or British young girls, I don't think that's out of the question. And fundamentally, I think calling it political and saying that, you know, this is all politically charged, Rupert Lowe is using this inquiry to push his own particular political agenda, I don't think is fair. And the question is, where does that line get drawn? Because from my perspective, you look at countries like the UAE, Dubai is very, very successful, and they are very, very liberal on immigration. People can come and go as they please. But if you commit one single crime, you are immediately deported. Why is raping a young British girl not reason enough to be deported?
I think you raised a very good question there. You know, as I've said earlier, there are appropriate cases to deport people. If they are posing a harm and a risk to people in this country, that should be considered. But as you outlined, I think mass deportations isn't necessarily the go-to response to that. It seems like a very politically charged reaction. I actually do believe this investigation led by Baroness Casey is going to make sure that things are independent, they are victim-focused, and focused on outcomes that are actually going to have real effect and prevention on this ever happening again.
Paul Cox, comment on this, because I know you feel really strongly about this topic, don't you?
Incredibly strongly about it, actually, and it's too late to discuss whether it's political or not, or whether we should use politics to solve it. The reason that it happened is political. It's political policy that enabled this to happen. It's obfuscating the fact that DEI and people being fearful of being called racist has perpetuated this and created an environment in which this is possible. First of all, huge thanks must go to Rupert Lowe, and let's not forget that when he instigated this, self-funded, crowd-funded, he did so when the Labour Party were refusing a national inquiry. They, under tremendous pressure, were forced to do so. Let's not forget what Jess Phillips said. Let's not forget what happened with Oldham. Let's not forget a million years of politics that have allowed this to happen. So Rupert Lowe deserves every thanks from us all, and the victims thank him, I'm sure. And justice through the Casey review or through any formal national inquiry is going to take 3 or 4 years. There have been a bunch of outcomes that have come from this report, whether you support the report or not, which are incredibly sensible, and we're not going to act on them because it's political not to. So the whole thing is incredibly political. Whether it's, no matter what we do, what we've got here is probably the biggest crime against white British girls in British history, and we're still sitting over it, and we're all having discussions, and there is a government in place right now doing absolutely nothing about it. The only politician who's done anything about this is Rupert Lowe currently.
But that's simply not true, Paul.
The only reason I put what I was looking at, we've got to move on, guys, because we're going to go to Ben Lear in just a bit, but one of the reasons I put my glasses on then is to have a look online, because I always want to know, what does Maggie Oliver think about these things? I will do whatever Maggie Oliver thinks. That's what I support, and I think there's a little bit of ambivalence from her, isn't there, in terms of Rupert Lowe's report, that she thinks it might have muddied the waters, perhaps. I might have got that wrong, just what I'm having a look at here, but I'll have a look at that while we take a very quick break, because after the break we're going to be having a little look at this.
Yeah, now I'm here with England. I'm at the World Cup, and that's all the focus is on. Trying to win the World Cup and get the second star for the country.
England are preparing for their first match of the World Cup amid reports tonight that anti-Starmer chanting has been banned. I'm not even joking. You could get kicked out for calling Keir Starmer mean names. Ben Lear is on the ground in Dallas with all the reaction in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain,
with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis, in the car,
in the kitchen,
GB News Breakfast is there.
With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
You're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, it is 9 o'clock in the UK, 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Sorry, tomorrow, England, when it is those times, going to kick off their World Cup campaign against Croatia in Dallas in a bid to end 60 years of hurt. Manager Thomas Tuchel has been putting the likes of Harry Kane and Declan Rice through their paces as the Three Lions get ready for the match. England fans in their thousands have been travelling miles to be there. They are braving and no doubt enjoying the heat to cheer the team on. Bookies placed England as the third favourites for the competition behind France and Spain. But could this sour festivities slightly? Because the Daily Mail is saying that England fans have been warned they cannot bring flags honouring our war dead into the stadiums if they feature a silhouette of a soldier holding a rifle. Now, this is in addition to England fans also facing being ejected from stadiums if they make anti-Keir Starmer chants. Let me go now to my friend, US correspondent and presenter Ben Leo is in Dallas. Ben, DC and me are missing you, but I bet you're having a right good time in Dallas, aren't you? What do the fans make of this attack on their free speech?
Yeah, hello Bev, good to see you. I'm at the Harwood Arms here in Dallas, which is one of the hubs of England fans here. No relation to Tom Harwood. I think that's a good thing, or is it a bad thing? Not sure. Anyway, this is the hub of the England big match against Croatia tomorrow, first round of their World Cup. Little bit of controversy though, Bev, as you just mentioned. In the past hour or so, it's been revealed that England fans wanting to bring in flags into the game tomorrow, and indeed the rest of their games in this group, they'll be reviewed by FIFA. Not just England, by the way. It's clear to make clear that it's all football teams. So any flags that come into a stadium above a certain size needs to be reviewed by FIFA. However, that does include flags and songs that we saw in England's warm-up game in Orlando just a few weeks ago, which included the likes of Keir Starmer is a so-and-so. You guess what that is. I caught up with a couple of England fans here at the Harwood Arms a few moments ago. This is what they had to say about that. Any fans bring in banners or flags with sort of political messaging, i.e. Keir Starmer's a so-and-so, they won't be allowed in. What's your thoughts on that?
It's free speech until it's against what they want to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, when it's against certain people, then it's against. But if it was about the opposition, then they'd be allowing it. So, it's, do you know what I mean?
Lime on his beard.
So there we go, all flags have to go to FIFA. The FA tonight in a statement have said to England fans, please make sure none of your flags are political, and that includes, by the way, Bev, as you mentioned, quite chillingly actually, silhouettes or mentions of late service heroes, armed forces people who have died in England or the United Kingdom. So pretty sad state of affairs. By the way, I said to Patrick in the last hour or so, I hate the word woke, I don't really like it, but this is so far one of the wokest World Cups ever, because not only are they banning messages on flags, they're also calling man of the match superior player of the match. So forget man of the match, superior player of the match. I don't know what that's about. And also you have the hydration breaks, the water breaks every 25 minutes or so, which were in Qatar. They were at the previous World Cup, but only at certain temperatures, not for every game. Here in America, every game has a hydration break at 25 minutes. And let's be honest, Bev, it's all about the money. It's about commercials. All the cable networks go straight to commercials. I caught up with a couple of England fans here. Actually, I thought they were England fans. Hello guys, how you doing? Sorry to interrupt your jacket potato, your spuds. I thought you were England fans. Well, you are, but you're not English, are you?
No, we are Southern people from Louisiana and El Paso, Texas.
So you're patriotic England fans from America. You're American. Why did you want to take yourself out in England gear today?
Oh, we just wanted to make the English feel at home and welcome in America, and especially in Dallas, and wish you the best.
What's your perception of England fans been, the guys you've met so far? Are they a bit boozy?
No, they've been pretty reserved, pretty quiet, pretty cool.
Wait till tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So the Hollanders were really boozy.
Well, as I said, you wait till England play Croatia tomorrow night and the beers get flowing, especially down here at the Harwood Arms. Thank you guys, enjoy the spuds. I'll nick one of those in a second. Bev, elsewhere we caught up with an England fan who has been to no less than 10 World Cups. He's just released a book. He's a guy called Andy Milne. He's written a book about it. He's gone from World Cups in 1982 all the way up until here in America. This is what he had to say when we caught up with him a bit earlier. And Andy, how much do you think this World Cup travel over the decades has cost you? And reportedly, you sold your house back home in the UK, right, to fund it?
Look, I planned the World Cups a long time in advance, and I took early retirement. Me and my partner managed to take on a second house, which we rented out, but the tenants were going to leave, and it was just the right time to sell up the property. And yeah, I have used some of the money for it.
Does FIFA or the US deserve any flack for the ticket prices in this tournament?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the pricing is awful. And they go up, and then the way that the tickets have been leaked out, this sort of false FOMO that they're creating.
Is football the working man's game anymore, do you think?
Football is for sure, but the World Cup is a different kettle of fish. It's you have to have a bit of money behind you. There's no cheap way to get there.
Yeah, Bev, that's a big topic of conversation here in America for the World Cup. Some England fans we've spoken to have spent $19,000, $20,000 trying to attend the games. When FIFA first launched the World Cup bid here in America, the ticket prices for the final were only as high as $1,500, $1,500. If you try and buy a ticket today for the final online, $32,000 some of them are going for up the upper tiers. So pretty pricey, but not dampening the spirits here in Dallas. People prepared to pay the money and follow England, hopefully, all the way, Bev.
Oh, Ben, I have so many questions. We want to get you on for a little longer in the next hour so we can all just have a little chit-chat with you. But what do the fans make of when they make of seeing a GB News microphone? Are they pleased to see you, Ben Leo? Do they like us?
Yes. Yes, they love it. We asked my producer and cameraman. People have been saying hello. They love the show. They love the channel. A couple of GB News fans here. Anyone who GB News fans? Yes. GB News fans? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, GB News fans everywhere. They love it. They love GB News, the People's Channel, Bev.
I was a bit nervous for a moment there, Ben. Just in case you had some big BBC fans. There's no such thing. No one's a fan of the BBC. They just happen to watch it. But they look like they're having a wonderful time. We're going to come and talk to you in the next hour as well, Ben. Thank you so much. Have a nice cold shandy on me. Just going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment. A lot more to come in the next.
You know, June 14th, we're having a big fight. It's never going to happen again. Never.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. There is warmer and sunnier weather on the way, but for today we're starting the day with a lot of grey. It's damp as well. It will feel muggy through the day. It's certainly been a warm start for many of us, but, well, a fairly dreary one. A lot of low cloud, mist and murk around western hills and coasts. There'll be further outbreaks of rain coming and going, increasingly showery by the afternoon, with some drier and brighter interludes emerging, and as the sun comes out, temperatures will reach the low to mid-20s, all part of a general warming trend as we go through the rest of the week. But actually, the end of the day doesn't look half bad. There will be some clear skies across Scotland. Plenty of showers, but in between the showers, especially in the east and through the central belt, some decent sunshine. Northern Ireland, likewise, a mix of sunny spells and showers, the showers easing a little as we go through the evening. Northern England, parts of Wales, after that damp and grey start, actually, the best of the sunshine comes along late in the day. Likewise for the southeast of England, still some rain here and there across central parts, but even that fizzles away overnight. And then overnight it's dry for many at first, but another batch of wet weather moves into Ireland, reaches Northern Ireland by dawn, parts of southwestern Scotland, North Wales and northern Scotland. It's another warm night. Temperatures in the south, 17 or 18 Celsius, low teens further north. Some brightness around first thing Thursday, especially across the Midlands, eastern England as well. Towards the northwest, it's increasingly wet. Some heavy and persistent rain into Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, Northern England and North Wales. A real northwest-southeast split developing by the afternoon. Plenty of sunshine towards the southeast. Temperatures reaching 28 Celsius.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again. To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back live from Washington DC. This is Bev Turner on GB News with the stories shaping Great Britain and the United States of America coming up tonight. Well, earlier today, that Russian warship, I'm not sure if it was that very one, fired a warning shot at a British yacht in the English Channel. It appears, hopefully, to have been nothing. It follows, of course, the daring raid of a vessel carrying barrels of crude oil. And we've been asking, is Putin goading Britain into a military confrontation? Probably not. Also tonight,
First time in 32 hours. Good morning. Okay.
on the radio, that was a very awkward-looking Keir Starmer being sort of left out in the cold by President Trump. Starmer, of course, has denied that he was snubbed, but he didn't have a one-on-one meeting with Trump. At the G7 summit today, are we looking at the Prime Minister's swan song on the international stage also tonight?
You know, June 14th, we're having a big fight. It's never going to happen again. Never happened before.
An extraordinary story that frankly hasn't got the publicity that it deserves. The FBI here in Washington, D.C. stopped an alleged terror plot that was going to use drones and sniper teams to harm fans at Sunday's UFC Freedom 250 celebration. The details of it are shocking. We're going to have a reaction from a former FBI agent soon. Also tonight.
I'm very happy to say it's signed, the deal's all signed, and the strait is already partially open. On Friday, it'll be completely open.
President Trump has insisted at the G7 that the Strait of Hormuz will be open toll-free under the US-Iran deal to end the war. Is it the final breakthrough we are all hoping for? Also,
yeah, now I'm here with England. I'm at the World Cup, and that's all the focus is on. Trying to win the World Cup and get the second star for the country.
we all want it to come home, of course. England are kicking off against Croatia in their first match of the 2026 World Cup tonight. That's for you guys. Tomorrow, for us, Ben Leo is in Dallas with all the fan reaction. We're going to go back to him soon. I'm Bev Turner. This is The Late Show Live. Joining me in Washington this evening, US political analyst Eric Ham and reporter for Reason magazine, Reem Ibrahim is here, and in London, GB News contributor and comedian Paul Cox and Labour councillor Stuart Fawcett. Right, great first hour, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move on, though, to this story that could have been something altogether different. There was a terror plot on Sunday night that targeted the White House's huge UFC fight. And they were going to send explosives-laden drones. It was foiled by the FBI, according to officials. Top US politicians, including, of course, President Trump, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, were targeted at Sunday's event. Frankly, anyone who was anyone in this administration was there, under the open sky. So the alleged attackers planned to use suicide drones, they're called, to target buildings and force a mass evacuation, which would have directed crowds in the panic towards a team of snipers that was going to pick them off. I just find this the most incredible story. Let me start with my panel on this. Eric, as an American, you must feel so reassured that the FBI foiled this.
No, that's great that they did, but I'm curious, how would they been able to actually get drones in that area, because there's basically a no-fly zone anywhere around the White House. So I would think that those drones would have been picked off long before they got there. In addition to that, there was a massive security barrier in terms of where you could go around the area. I was actually covering the event just outside the White House on Sunday, and it seemed relatively safe, and that's great that the FBI did their job, because I'm sure many people there were not even remotely aware of such the possible threat of an attack. And so I think this is a good job. And again, it also shows how important it is that law enforcement has to get it right every single time, because if they hadn't, of course, this would have been not only a disaster in terms of the potential for death, but also politically, if in fact something like that had happened.
My question is, why do so many people think that violence and murder and the potential destruction of the US government is the solution to disagreements over politics? And we saw this. I mean, President Trump has had so many attempted assassinations against him, probably more than any other president in at least this century. And I do think that it's fundamentally a question of why now in 2026 do we think that political violence is the answer to our political problems. You can disagree politically, you can have that disagreement through free speech that this great country does have, but the idea that you have to kill somebody in order to end that political particular tension tenure, then I don't think that's necessarily the case. I also do think it's pretty scary. It's not just, really important officials that were near the White House. I had a couple of colleagues and friends that went by to go and look at the fireworks just outside. Lots and lots of people were down there, lots of people congregating near the National Mall, and I do think that it was a spectacular event for that reason. How many civilians would have been hurt? How many innocent people could have been hurt? Thank God for the FBI.
Thank goodness for the FBI, absolutely. Just let me give you a few more details of this to my London guys. It wasn't like a lone wolf organisation, this. It was apparently 23 individuals. They were exchanging communications on Signal, which is like a WhatsApp kind of platform. It's very similar to WhatsApp.
It's encrypted.
It's encrypted and it's more popular here in America than we use WhatsApp a lot more in the UK. And they were going to execute this drone strike, although it sounds like Eric has a little bit of scepticism maybe about that. And that would have sent explosive-laden drones to strike these buildings. Then the 4,500 attendees, including 1,200 active service members, were hoped to flee in a predictable direction into what they now describe as what would have been the kill zone, and funneled into this line of fire with these snipers who were in position. Apparently they found a sniper's nest here. And then the third stage of this would have been a ground assault. So a second wave of terrorists was going to storm the White House gate and finish off presumably any survivors. And
do we know anything about the identity?
It is just extraordinary. And there was a whistleblower. The person who dobbed them in was one of the mothers. Do you not believe this?
Oh no, I believe it wholeheartedly. I just believe that these people have clearly been watching too many movies, because there's no way they would have actually gotten to the White House gates to be able to carry out this dastardly event. But again, I think, and the fact that one of them actually had their garage back in Missouri as a safe house where they were going to reconvene after such an event, I think it just speaks to the naivety. Not only that, but I think the level of hatred that is coursing through people. I mean, we're talking about innocent individuals who are here celebrating America's 250th anniversary. They are celebrating the country itself. It was a beautiful weekend, and the fact that there are people who just want to kill and maim and harm innocent people for no other reason. It's so thankful.
Apparently, let's have a look at what the speculation is about their motives, and obviously this all needs verifying. But we understand it was anti-capitalist, anti-elite, anti-APAC. Now, APAC is
so anti-Semitism
Israel Public Affairs Committee. Yeah,
it's a very
anti-Semitism and extremely
and it never ends with Jews.
Far left.
Yeah, I mean this is really quite concerning.
APAC.
I mean,
APAC.
It's not. No, APAC is the most influential lobby organization in the United States. It is directly tied to Israel. They, for years, have funneled millions of dollars into political campaigns and candidates on both the left and right. Their influence has perhaps waned some as Netanyahu has become increasingly more polarized. But this is an organization, if you go back 20 years, politicians on both sides of the aisle feared AIPAC because of their strength and their ability.
But hang on, we go to London. But we do think this is about this sort of ideological cocktail, if you like, a far left revolutionary. That's how they like far left rhetoric.
Bev, I think what's interesting here is, like, look, we need to take this seriously. I don't think this is out of the way to consider that the threat is very real, especially when it comes to drones. I mean, in Ukraine earlier this week, over 12,000 drones were in one aerial attack. This threat is very real, and the great work the FBI has done is, incredibly respectable. But intelligence agencies alone can't always keep these threats away from becoming a reality every single time, especially if foreign actors are behind them. And the question in my mind that I was raising was thinking, this is a seriously orchestrated and organised attempt at an attack. This isn't some sort of have-a-go terrorism that you might sort of think is a wild and wacky idea. And the threats on the president's life have been, clear and present, and have been increasing. Political violence is increasing, certainly. But let's just look at this this outlook here, where it was an anti-AIPAC sort of attack. AIPAC is an organisation that it increases the diplomatic communications between Israel and the United States in order to keep that conversation going and understand the situation that they have in the Middle East as a state. So when I hear something like that, it really does make me worry, because Rabbi Sachs, a former chief rabbi in the UK, said where anti-Semitism starts, it all starts with the Jews, but it never ends with it. And it just seems to me that this undertone of anti-Semitic sentiment is never far away. But what I want to know is who sponsored this attack? Who has sponsored it? Where has it come from? We know that Iran, for example, sponsors many proxies in the region, in the Middle East, Hezbollah, Hamas. Who would sponsor an attack of this scale with these particular, agendas behind it?
It will be very interesting to see, Paul. And the one thing that I keep thinking about since I heard about this is the testicular fortitude of the man in that house to put on an event like that, to be rendered so vulnerable with thousands of American people, proper blue-collar American people, to watch a bare-knuckle fighting, ultimate fighting championship like that. All credit to him. I just think it's amazing, because he would have known the risk is there. Paul Cox, come in.
The testicular fortitude. That's a phrase I'm going to be using for a while, Bev. Thank you very much.
I have to come up with creative ways. You do,
and that was chef's kiss. Look, this seems broader.
I'm the only one, Paul.
This seems broader than just anti-Trump and anti-republicanism. This seems anti-Westernism, anti-capitalism, which made everybody there a potential victim of this. By the way, this wasn't just anyone of any political persuasion would be captured in that net just by being an American, because they believe in all of those things, as do I, by the way. So this is potentially an attack on America as a whole, because you can easily lose sight of that if you just aim this at Donald Trump, because people will dismiss it and say, oh, many people hate Donald Trump, of course they're going for him. So this is very much, and I think Stuart was alluding to it there, this feels very much an Iranian proxy, a Middle East proxy type event. Now, you can just look, I'm not with Eric on this, but I understand where Eric's opinion comes from, and that's that this is so outlandishly outrageous and overambitious that the chance of success is very low. However, had the FBI or the Secret Services not been involved, who knows how far they would have got. You've only got to get 2 or 3 steps into that plan, and you've got a horrific global catastrophe.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about the people who were there, literally, I mean, I went to a fascinating after party. I didn't actually go to watch the event. I wouldn't have wanted to watch the event. I even watched it, like, through my fingers, even, because I just don't like it.
You don't like the UFC?
No, that guy in the final bout got his face rearranged beyond all recognition. It was horrendous.
It was awesome.
But I really defend their right to do that. And it was, for that night, it was the people's house. But you had Joe Rogan there. You had the whole cabinet there. You had Caroline Leavitt there. You had Stephen Chung there. You had the First Lady there. You had the whole Trump family there. I mean, I can understand why, if you're a terrorist wanting to wreak havoc on America, that is your venue. Just amazing. Honestly, I think it's the most astonishing story, and I'm surprised it hasn't got more publicity than it has.
I think it would have been a mistake to mess with Caroline Leavitt, but levity aside on this one, let's look at this. That is fascinating. That the undertone was it was a group of people with a grievance on AIPAC, and it just outlines that these people will not keep their field of view on anyone involved with Israel. They will quite happily make casualties of anybody else from a Western democracy in order for that cause. And as I say, I really want to know who would have helped orchestrate a potential attack like this.
Let's talk. Let's try and shed some light on that. Let's talk to Greg Rogers now, former FBI agent, about this. Greg, I don't know whether you were listening to our conversation there. The relief, actually, the astonishing relief that nothing happened on Sunday night. What do you make of it as a former FBI agent? Just your reaction to what could have been the biggest disaster in recent American history.
Unfortunately, it could have been a real tragedy. I mean, if they would have been able to get the drones in there and cause people to run out and had a few guys set up to do the sniper fire they were planning, there could have been numerous casualties. We were very lucky in this in the way this came to our attention.
I mean, we're looking at the pictures here, and it's difficult to overstate, actually, how many people were there. I think it's about 4,500 people there. All of the most powerful people in this city, frankly, were there. What kind of measures would have been taken, Greg, because it was such a vulnerable target?
There was intense security there. There was a lot of planning going into that. There was every federal agency about would have had been involved in the security for that event. So there was really good coverage. But again, unfortunately, you can get online and learn how to make a pipe bomb and attach it to a drone in about 5 minutes. So you can do a whole lot of damage. It's very difficult to prevent that type of an attack. So again, we were very fortunate that Mr. Proper's mom called us on the 10th.
Yeah, so just give us a little bit of information about that, because as you say, it was one of the suspect's mother who called the FBI.
Yes. The young man, his name's Tyson Proper. He's 19. He lives in Ohio. He was a member of this militia group that called the Vanguard of the Old, that was being led by a man named Abraham Alvarez out of Nebraska. They basically communicated on Signal app, which is encrypted, very difficult for law enforcement to be tracking. But his mother overheard him having conversations in his room. They were very concerned because he just graduated from high school and he'd bought a whole lot of weapons and ammo with some money that he had been given as a gift for his graduation. And he quit his job. So they knew something was going on, but they'd heard some of the conversations he was having with other members of this group and became very concerned, confronted him about it. He didn't want to talk about it. And so they called the FBI. Thankfully, we ran warrants, got onto his cell phone. That's how we identified all these other people that were involved. And there's going to be a whole lot. There's going to be probably a couple dozen more arrests in this case. All of their phones are going to be, and all of their social media accounts are going to be searched. So this is just beginning. This investigation is going to break wide open. We're going to find out there were a whole lot of people involved in this, which makes it very dangerous.
And Greg, what do we know about the organization that you said he's aligned with? I'm not familiar with it.
They're on TikTok. Unfortunately, it's not that unusual. It's a militia group here in the United States. They're very fascistic, anti-Semitic, a lot of talk about Hitler and Nazis, but they're like a lot of other militia groups. They espouse a belief that the United States has strayed from what it was intended. So the only way to fix that is to overthrow it, basically, and start all over with this group being the in charge. The leader, this Abraham Alvarez, called himself the shepherd. He meant that, that he was going to shepherd the United States back into the way, what it was supposed to be according to them. So it's I infiltrated these types of groups when I was an undercover in the FBI. There are a number of them, unfortunately, and they recruit heavily, and they get young men like Mr. Proper and get them to do things they might not have otherwise done. And it's they had a number of these people were in the DC area. They were arrested on Monday. but we were able to find out about them because, because we were able to get on proper cell phone and to identify the people he was talking to on his Signal app. He also cooperated and gave us a bunch of that information. That's all in the complaint. So, again, incredibly fortunate. It was often in these types of cases, I'm always wondering how there were so many people involved and nobody said anything. And in this case, fortunately, somebody did. So his mom deserves a lot of credit. She, quite frankly, and I don't think it's being melodramatic, she saved a lot of lives.
Oh, yeah, didn't she? And imagine the dilemma of knowing that you're going to basically send your son to prison potentially for the rest of his life. But wow, she really did the right thing, didn't she? Apparently, the president was asked about it at the G7 summit today in France about this foiled plot. And he said, I haven't heard about it. He said the attack that I watched was the fighters. That seems a little hard to believe, doesn't it? Or maybe they did protect him from it. I mean, we're seeing him on the balcony here with the guy that runs UFC. What's his name? Remind me. What is it?
Dana White.
Dana White. That's it. Dana White. I can never remember because it sounds like a girl's name to me. It doesn't seem to suit that man. And he went straight from here, President Trump. He went straight on Air Force One to the G7 summit. Now, is it plausible that he doesn't know about this foiled attack on his life? Again, potential plot?
No, I find that real hard to believe. The President of the United States gets a morning briefing every day from the FBI, the Secret Service, and there's no way, absolutely no way, this wasn't part of the morning briefing.
Yeah. So what do you think he's doing there by denying any knowledge of it? Because, as I say, this isn't a particularly big story here. The assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner was much bigger than this, and I feel like this would have been potentially extraordinarily destructive.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. I think President Trump has a predilection to try to downplay things and make them seem like they're not important because it sort of gives the impression that, you know, we knew about it, we took care of it, we're not worried about those. But it's not at all plausible he didn't know about it. And again, it's not an overstatement at all. Had these people set up sniper positions like they planned on doing, and were able to set off the pipe bombs on these drones and caused a mass exodus, people panicked and running, the amount of people that could have been killed in that is you don't even want to think about it. That's a very dangerous attack. And so this was, again, just great fortune. It was, it could have been horrific.
Yeah. Stay with me, Greg. Just stay with us while we talk about it. I'm fascinated by the political ideology of these people, because one might have assumed we were talking about a far left group, and I don't like these descriptions, and this incident almost demonstrates why they don't make any sense anymore. Because if Greg's description is correct, and what I'm reading online here, that they are ex-military, some of these, Christian-based, extreme Christian values, and yet anti-capitalism, and we're painting American flags on their ammunition because they see themselves as so pro-American. Just talk to us about the mindset of this group, Eric. I'm finding it hard to
because as it was said that there was one individual that was part of a militia, and oftentimes these are people who see themselves at war with the country, so that they don't actually have a political ideology, and also too, just to talk about far left people just don't have the guts, the stones, the heart. They very few of them probably even have weapons where they would even think to do something like this. But when you're talking about,
well, they tried to kill the president at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
But when you see people like this, their mindset is it is them versus the country. They want to actually bring down the nation and restart the country. So they're almost as though they're separatists. They want to see it. They just want to see it burn. And that includes everyone who is part of the system, Democrat, Republican. And that's what you were seeing play out here. One other thing, because again, I was there all weekend, and the perimeter was so far out that these people would not have been able to actually get those drones, pipe bombs, anything like that inside the perimeter. So if they had actually tried to set something off, what would have happened is you would have had law enforcement that would have actually collapsed, that ensured that many of the people inside would not have been able to get out, which means that you would have just had a very expensive fireworks display, and the people inside the perimeter would have actually been safe because they would not have been able to actually move out, because they would have, of course, they would have recognized that they themselves would have been the target.
Is that how you see it, Greg? What do you make of Eric's analysis of the layout there?
No, there was very good security. I think they learned a lot after the correspondents' dinner. They had a very good security perimeter set up for the exact reason that Eric's talking about. You would have wanted to contain that crowd. Unfortunately, sometimes with a crowd that large, it can overwhelm security. So you have to always be careful about that. If you get thousands of panicked people moving in one direction, that's sometimes hard to control. But it was set up for that reason, to try to maintain it if there was an issue.
Yeah, and we're not got that many details now. I understand there's 5 people have been arrested, but we also think it was a group of 23, at least 23 individuals that were involved in this. What kind of charges will they face, Greg?
These are going to be domestic terrorism charges. These are going to be very serious. They're going to be all sorts of firearms charges. There's also going to be charges about, I think they're going to charge them with attempting to kill, because there's evidence evidently in the Signal chat where they're talking about members of the cabinet, people who are going to be there. They knew J.D. Vance was there. They used those types of names. So there may even be attempted murder charges of cabinet members and vice president. I mean, these are serious charges. These are life without parole kind of things in federal court. Could even be death penalty under the domestic terrorism charges. So this is very, very serious.
Greg, this could be.
They're also going to charge them with sedition, because this was an attempted attack on the nation itself, and because they were targeting lawmakers and officials who run the government, this would have been, and not only sedition but also seditious conspiracy.
Do we know the ages of the people, Greg? We know there's one 19-year-old.
But we know that the Abraham's older. I think he's in his 40s. But I think so. There's a bunch of different ages. But I think in this, what you're going to find when they start identifying all these other people, and there's going to be a lot more than that, because when they get on all of those other people, when they're going to run warrants on their cell phones, all of their electronic devices. So they're going to come up with a group much larger than that, and they're going to be. But these militia groups traditionally are younger, because they are prior military, but they train and they do all sorts of stuff. So the militia groups I joined were, if you were in your 50s, you were old. So it was because they still fancy themselves as being fit and ready to fight.
Idiotic young boys. Come in, Ree.
Well, Greg, I just wanted to ask you, do we know how many groups there are out there in the US that are like this kind of pervasive ideology of people that want to bring down the US as a country, as a nation? How many of these groups are there? How many people are there that want to bring down America?
There's way too many. I can tell you, and a lot of them are in, around. They're in Utah, Idaho, Montana. I mean, they're all over the United States. But I would go to meetings with. I'd be in a particular group, and there'd be a militia, rally in Montana often, and we would go there, and there would be, there may be 1,000 people there. I mean, they're unfortunately a lot of these. I couldn't give you an accurate number because I'd be wrong. I'd just be guessing there. I was always surprised how many groups there were.
Can I just ask you, so on the night when we saw these amazing pictures and President Trump being there with his wife and, as you say, J.D. Vance and all these high-profile politicians, would they all have known at that point what had been averted hours earlier?
No. Some of them did. The Secret Service certainly did. We'd have briefed the Secret Service because we were making these arrests beforehand. So they, in their morning briefing, I should take my answer back. The answer would be yes. They wouldn't have been given as many details, but in their morning briefing after the 10th, so on the morning of the 11th, they would have been told, we arrested this young man in Ohio. This is what's happening. And so, so each day they would have kept him up to speed. But so it would have been information that was coming in. So they would have had some details, but not everything. So it's
and also and just like just a moment, like a triumph as well of discretion, secrecy, diplomacy, communications, that did not leak before the event, because half those people may not have shown up.
Yeah.
Oh, it would have been. I think people would have been very nervous to show up, and for good reason. So yeah. So there was. Yeah, there was a reason that wasn't released, and the charges weren't made available, and
Amazing. Greg, thank you so much. Thank you for your service to this amazing country of yours. Former FBI agent Greg Rogers there. Your country's amazing, Eric Ham.
Well, thank you.
It is amazing. The fact that you
things just work.
The stuff just works. It's just slick, isn't it? It's just a slick operation. I know you've got nutcases that want to blow the country apart, but alongside the nutcases, you've got these amazing machines that just leap into action and just execute so beautifully the security of this country.
Well, they know this is the first time something like that had ever taken place on White House grounds, and it's the job of the security apparatus of the federal government to know that everyone is going to see that singular event as a possibility of an attack. And so everyone needs to be aware, everyone needs to be averted, and that's why you had such the massive perimeter that they had around the White House and how far out it went. I had to walk nearly a half a mile just to get outside.
When you say, this is just what they're meant to do, I love that confidence, because I just don't feel
I was going to say, don't you just get the sense that in Britain things wouldn't have gone that way? I mean, whenever I go back to the UK since I moved here, I genuinely am astonished by how things just do not work, and the incompetence of the police service, the unfunding of our military. We cannot defend ourselves, and I've got to say, we've got to look up to America with this stuff.
I do, and I'm so sorry to anyone that's watching this at home and going, well, it's all right for you lot over there. And it is all right for us over here, and genuinely, but that is one of the reasons I am here, so that we can show the UK how to do things properly. So anyway, right, moving on. GBNews.com/your say. Let me know your thoughts. Still to come this evening, this.
Very happy to say it's signed, the deal's all signed, and the strait is already partially open. On Friday, it'll be completely open.
President Trump at the G7, he said that the Strait of Hormuz will open toll-free. I'm going to be talking to a fantastic new Iranian expert in just a minute. You do not want to miss this. His insight, I think, is some of the most fascinating that I've heard in the last few weeks. This is The Late Show Live, only on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. There is warmer and sunnier weather on the way, but for today we're starting the day with a lot of grey. It's damp as well. It will feel muggy through the day. It's certainly been a warm start for many of us, but, well, a fairly dreary one. A lot of low cloud, mist and murk around western hills and coasts. There'll be further outbreaks of rain coming and going, increasingly showery by the afternoon, with some drier and brighter interludes emerging, and as the sun comes out, temperatures will reach the low to mid-20s, all part of a general warming trend as we go through the rest of the week. But actually, the end of the day doesn't look half bad. There will be some clear skies across Scotland, plenty of showers, but in between the showers, especially in the east and through the central belt, some decent sunshine. Northern Ireland, likewise, a mix of sunny spells and showers, the showers easing a little as we go through the evening. Northern England, parts of Wales, after that damp and grey start, actually, the best of the sunshine comes along late in the day. Likewise for the southeast of England, still some rain here and there across central parts, but even that fizzles away overnight. And then overnight it's dry for many at first, but another batch of wet weather moves into Ireland, reaches Northern Ireland by dawn, parts of southwestern Scotland, North Wales and northern Scotland. It's another warm night. Temperatures in the south 17 or 18 Celsius, low teens further north. Some brightness around first thing Thursday, especially across the Midlands, eastern England as well. Towards the northwest, it's increasingly wet. Some heavy and persistent rain into Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, Northern England and North Wales. A real northwest-south-east split developing by the afternoon. Plenty of sunshine towards the southeast. Temperatures reaching 28 Celsius.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans? Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account. You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News,
the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to The Late Show Live with me, Bev. Now, President Trump at the G7 in France has insisted that the Strait of Hormuz will open toll-free, he said, under the US's ceasefire agreement with Iran to end the war. The president also stressed to his European partners that Iran will, quote, never have a nuclear weapon. This, of course, follows Pakistan, a key mediator, announcing on Sunday that the US and Iran had reached a momentous agreement. I'm delighted to say that I'm now joined in the studio by the CEO of Ahura AI and Future of Humanity Foundation, Brian Talaby. Brian, so interested to meet you. I was desperate to get you on because just tell us a little bit about your background and your story and why you feel so strongly about the situation in Iran.
Sure. Well, I was born in Iran, first of all, and it's very unfortunate to see your country completely taken over by the alliance between the Marxists and the Muslims, which they did. They destroyed the country. We escaped because they...
In 79.
Well, we actually, yeah, it happened in 79. My family escaped a little later. My dad decided to stay and fight a bit. Eventually, we had to escape the country, otherwise we would all be executed. So we spent a couple of years in a refugee camp in Turkey, and we came to the United States when I was 6. Now, we did it the proper way. We went through the line, got our green cards, and came legally.
Yeah.
But I was very, very fortunate because eventually, when I was 16, I started working at Goddard Space Flight Center at NASA, and then started my first company at 20. And now I'm on my 7th company.
Just for people who've just fell off the sofa at home, he did say he started working for NASA at 16, and it is a remarkable story that we've got to do a longer interview with you one day about how that all happened. But you are, I think, a great demonstration of some of the Iranian, the Persian people that I've met in this city who are so capable and so ambitious and have made amazing, done amazing things with your lives. And you look at the situation in Iran now and you're heartbroken for the people who are there. How do you feel now when we're looking at this agreement almost signed? What's the hope for Iran now?
Well, my ultimate hope is that the Iranian people, the Persian people, rise and defeat their oppressors. Because you have to remember that for the past 47 years, this Islamic regime led by the Ayatollah, they don't share a religion with the Persian people. They don't share a history, a language, a culture. They're an oppressive force that's 2 to 3% of the population, and yet they brutalize the people on a regular basis. Look, earlier this year, they massacred a minimum of 40,000 people, and some people believe that number is much, much higher. Now, I have the utmost respect for President Trump. I think, to what you said earlier, he had the testicular fortitude to do something that all of the presidents since 79 failed to do, which is take on this barbaric regime and the violence that they have been responsible for all across the Middle East and all across the world.
So what did the other leaders think they could think was happening? Like, why did they not feel that it was necessary to try to genuinely take them on? What has maintained that uneasy peace for so many years?
Well, I can't speak for them, I'm not in their minds, but I can say that for the past 20, 30 years, there's been this belief across the political class that Iran is untouchable, that all the experts would come on television and talk about how if we attack Iran, tens of thousands of American soldiers would die, the entire world would go up in a conflagration, and it would just be catastrophic. Well, President Trump just proved that that wasn't the case. He completely dismantled their Air Force, their missile defense, their Navy, took out all of the leadership in a matter of weeks. Now, the key thing to remember here is the Iranian military, they're not dumb. They are actually quite smart, just like all of the people that came here to Silicon Valley, or people that became doctors and engineers and so forth. And so one of the things that they did prior to us taking out the Ayatollah is they incorporated something called the Mosaic Defense. Now, with the Mosaic Defense, what happens is the IRGC only listens to the orders and commands of the Supreme Leader. Now, they broke up the IRGC into 31 individual decentralized provincial commands that are still following the last order of the old Ayatollah before we killed Ayatollah Khomeini, and then his son Mujtaba Khomeini, who became the Ayatollah. It's unclear whether he's dead or in a coma.
Yeah.
But regardless, that person is the only person that can supersede the previous command.
Right.
And so those 31 provincial commands have the freedom to attack any target with all of their capabilities. And so the question is, any kind of negotiated settlement with the foreign minister, with the president, with the parliament, doesn't really matter, because any one of those 31 provincial commands can begin attacking American infrastructure or our allies.
So what is the best hope for the Iranian people? How do they overthrow them? Because that has been this difficult conversation. Like, is regime change the ambition of the president? He's sort of stepped around it a little bit. It's been a little bit equivocating around that. But what happens now? How do they rise up? Have they got any guns?
Well, unfortunately, they don't have guns. They have been defanged. And so just like here in the United States, the goal of the left is constantly to take away people's guns and get rid of the Second Amendment rights that we have. In Iran, they successfully did that. So the people are disarmed. Now, with that said, it's their responsibility to rise up. It's not our responsibility as Americans. It's not Israel's responsibility to save them. It's their responsibility, just like the Americans rose up against the British in 1776.
Yeah.
It's the Persian people's responsibility to do that. Now, can we help them? Absolutely. The French helped the United States in 1776, and we've done that. We've decimated their military, their air force, the IRGC. Can we do more? I would like to see the United States decimate IRGC commands locally.
And how do we... oh, Brian, we could talk all night, but there's a football match going on. I don't know whether you know the World Cup is on. But I think you shine a really interesting light, actually, on where we're at with this and that responsibility now being back with the Iranian people. Are you optimistic? Just a final... Do you feel like this is peace?
I think the peace will last for a short period of time, and the Iranian regime will break the peace and open the door for true regime change.
Okay, superb. Right, I'll have you back anytime. Such a pleasure. Brian Talaby there, the CEO of Ahura AI. Thank you so much. Right. Ben Leo is over in Dallas because we are going to be playing Croatia tomorrow night, but this of course might affect things slightly. Apparently England fans are going to be thrown out if they say anything mean about Starmer or wave the wrong kind of flag. Ben Leo, give me strength. Tell us what's happening.
Who were they playing?
Algeria.
Hello, Bev. Good to see you. Sorry, I was just asking who Argentina are playing because at the aghast of England fans here, loads of Argentina fans have turned up for their game. I was just trying to work out who they were playing. Yeah, a big story breaking tonight, Bev, in the fact that England fans, actually not just England, all teams, if they want to bring flags into stadiums, they have to get them approved by FIFA if they're over a certain size. So any flags like the kind we've seen in England warm-up games calling Keir Starmer certain names, they have to be reviewed by FIFA, and anything political is getting rejected. So if any England fans are watching, in the land of the free, protected by the First Amendment, free speech, if they want to bring flags in with any political messaging, which, by the way, doesn't just include Keir Starmer, it also bans anything to do with, for example, paying tribute to fallen servicemen or women from the UK, dead soldiers, friends and families of supporters who have been attending matches here. They'll be banned. They won't be allowed in the stadium. And if they are found in the stadium, potentially those fans could be kicked out. So Keir Starmer is safe, thank goodness, our dear leader, from any criticism for now. Not sure what you think about that, Bev, or the panel, but as I said, I'm not even too sure what President Trump would think of it either, but it's a FIFA rule, and the FA, Bev, have said in a statement tonight, they are just warning fans, saying that any flags that will be brought into the stadium could be confiscated and you'll be booted out. And also, likewise, that goes the same for any chanting as well. Keir Starmer is a so-and-so has been a pretty popular theme in recent England matches, Bev.
I think, do you know what, Ben? Knowing what England football fans are like, If you tell them you can't say this, I think the moment, however many football fans are sat down, how many British fans will be there? 10,000, 20,000? As soon as they're in that stadium, they are going to start. Keir Starmer is ... fill in the blanks. They're just going, good luck, FIFA, with kicking out all the fans. How many Brits will there be, Ben? Do you know roughly?
Yeah, we think around 15,000 Brits are in Dallas for the game tomorrow, for the Croatia game. The thing is, another topic of conversation is there's only around 4,000, as far as we've been told today, who will actually have tickets for the game. So around 4,000 for England, 4,000 Croatia, and then tens of thousands more going to what football fans would call the prawn sandwich brigade, or maybe just neutral football fans. So if you think in a stadium of 70, 80,000, just 4,000 fans from each team, it's pretty lackluster, and that weighs into the wider conversation about this World Cup in general being the most expensive ever, sort of kicking out the working class from the game because people can't access the tickets in the first place, and those who can, there's a really sort of paltry amount in the stadiums, Bev.
Let me see if my panel have any questions for you, Ben. Go on, Reen.
Yeah, Ben, so do you think that the people around you, the people that you've spoken to today, are particularly upset about the fact that they cannot fly whatever they want, fly whatever flags they want, they can't chant whatever they want? Or do you think that they are not too bothered and actually willing to just go ahead and enjoy the game?
We have spoken to a few football fans who said don't really care anyway because we don't want football to be political, but you have to agree, you can't deny the fact that a vast section of England fans in recent games, most recently the warm-up game, I've forgotten who they were playing, in Orlando, were being very vocal about this government and the Prime Minister Keir Starmer. So there is a small minority, Reem, who say don't care anyway, just crack on with the football. But there are thousands of football fans who are using the opportunity of being on air to talk about the government.
What about Paul Cox? Paul, have you got a question for Ben?
Well, two questions actually. Ben, how many drinks have you had? I'm not. People who know me, they'll know that I'm not much of a boozer. It takes me maybe 2 pints and I'm on the floor. So I've had one very light. I think it was an IPA, was it? Not very strong. But I've had a massive wedge of cake. If anyone on social media saw my post earlier, I had a huge thing of cake, so it's lined my stomach a bit.
He's always hungry. Honestly, he's always hungry. Go on, Paul.
He tagged me.
He doesn't stop eating that boy.
He tagged me in the cake post. Tagged me. To be fair to Ben, it was because someone said it was my breakfast, which I did laugh at online, but privately I was crying. Anyone mentioned me, Ben? Anyone come up to you and said, "What's Paul Cox like? Is he as good looking in real life as he's on screen?"
Loads. Great. Plenty of people. Everyone's saying Paul Cox, love him, needs his own show, top man. Yeah, loads of them, Paul. I've lost count.
Thanks, Ben. That's all my questions for now.
And Ben, do you feel like the crowd there are enjoying this kind of American football? Because it is slightly different, compared to a European game. You and I went to a football match here in Washington DC, and they're walking up and down the steps with their popcorn, which is not a very football thing, is it? But it's a very American thing. Has it got a different vibe?
Yeah, I know what you mean about that. The American soccer fans, as they call themselves, they're very sedate. I think one of their top chants is, "I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win." I mean, compare that to the terraces at, I don't know, West Ham or Millwall. It's a stark contrast. But no, because all the countries are here, the Netherlands, Japan, everybody's here. The RGs, it's proper football. So none of that American nonsense.
Brilliant. All right, Ben, have a great time. We will talk to you very soon. We're just going to take a quick break, have a look at your weather. Back in a minute.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. There is warmer and sunnier weather on the way, but for today we're starting the day with a lot of grey. It's damp as well. It will feel muggy through the day. It's certainly been a warm start for many of us, but, well, a fairly dreary one. A lot of low cloud, mist and murk around western hills and coasts. There'll be further outbreaks of rain coming and going, increasingly showery by the afternoon, with some drier and brighter interludes emerging, and as the sun comes out, temperatures will reach the low to mid-20s, all part of a general warming trend as we go through the rest of the week. But actually, the end of the day doesn't look half bad. There will be some clear skies across Scotland, plenty of showers, but in between the showers, especially in the east and through the central belt, some decent sunshine. Northern Ireland, likewise, a mix of sunny spells and showers, the showers easing a little as we go through the evening. Northern England, parts of Wales, after that damp and grey start, actually, the best of the sunshine comes along late in the day. Likewise for the southeast of England, still some rain here and there across central parts, but even that fizzles away overnight. And then overnight it's dry for many at first, but another batch of wet weather moves into Ireland, reaches Northern Ireland by dawn, parts of southwestern Scotland, North Wales and northern Scotland. It's another warm night. Temperatures in the south 17 or 18 Celsius, low teens further north. Some brightness around first thing Thursday, especially across the Midlands, eastern England as well. Towards the northwest, it's increasingly wet. Some heavy and persistent rain into Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, Northern England and North Wales. A real northwest-southeast split developing by the afternoon. Plenty of sunshine towards the southeast. Temperatures reaching 28 Celsius.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans? Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account. You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Very good evening, good morning, live from Washington, D.C. This is Bev Turner on GB News with the stories shaping Great Britain and the United States of America coming up tonight.
First time in 32 hours. Good morning. Okay.
If you're listening on the radio, we're looking at pictures there of Sir Keir Starmer looking extremely anxious and a little slightly awkward, frankly, after President Trump effectively snubbed him at the G7 summit. They didn't have a one-to-one meeting. Are we looking at the Prime Minister's swan song on the international stage, at least before he goes and gets a very well-paid job with an NGO? Also tonight.
You know, June 14th, we're having a big fight. It's never going to happen again. Never happened before.
We had a fascinating interview in the past hour with an FBI agent who explained to us this terror plot that was thwarted at the weekend. There were terrorists who were going to use drones and sniper teams to harm fans at the UFC Freedom 250 celebration. Also tonight.
I'll tell you what, Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for someone.
That was dynamite today. That was the president taking a pot shot at Israel and their actions in Lebanon. Is America running out of patience with Netanyahu? Also tonight.
Yeah, now I'm here with England. I'm at the World Cup, and that's all the focus is on. Trying to win the World Cup and get the second star for the country.
Are you full of hope? England are kicking off against Croatia in their first World Cup match tomorrow night. Tonight for you there in the UK, Ben Leo is on the ground in Dallas talking to fans. We're going to go back to him in just a while. I'm Bev Turner. This is The Late Show Live. Just joining us, where have you been? Eric Ham is with me and Reem Ibrahim are in the studio with me this evening. We've got Paul Cox and Labour councillor Stuart Fawcett down the line in our London Paddington studio. Thank you all, guys. And we've got, there's Paul Cox looking cool as always. The 2 thumbs up, Paul. Oh, and the point, I like it. And we've got Ben Leo, of course, in Dallas. We're going to be going to Ben soon. Now, today, at the G7 meeting in France, President Trump shocked world leaders with another public reprimand of Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's strategy in Lebanon.
I'll tell you what, Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody.
So according to Lebanon's health ministry, Israel has killed over 3,500 people during a month-long campaign with its northern neighbour. President Trump's latest comments are part of a series this week in which he's expressed his concern over Israel's military actions. Trump's anger peaked last Sunday when he attacked the Israeli Prime Minister's decision to bomb Beirut just a matter of hours before that memorandum of understanding was to be signed by the US and Iran to end hostilities in the region. With the US and Israel being usually steadfast allies, are these recent signs of tension a signal that all is not well between the two countries? Let's talk now to Editor-in-Chief at the Foreign Desk, well-loved friend of the show, Lisa Daftari, now about this. Lisa, thank you so much for joining me. So what do we read into this? This is President Trump, isn't he, saying, I'm the boss here and Netanyahu will do as I say?
It's a very difficult, complex
convoluted situation. The reason I say that is because Donald Trump knows very well that Hezbollah is in Lebanon, that the Lebanese people are suffering at the hands of Hezbollah. And Israel is not the one that should be reined in. It should be Iran's regime that funds and controls Hezbollah, should tell them if they're about to sign the MOU, if you're on the eve of signing such a delicate and precious document, why would they be using their #1 proxy to continue firing into Israel? That tells us a lot about how this deal stands on sand, on shaky ground going forward, that they cannot control their proxies. I'm sure we're going to see more missiles flying into Israel in the next week or so, just because the Iran regime understands this language as weakness. Now, behind the scenes, I know that the relationship between Israel and the United States is steadfast. It always has been. It always will be. Why now has he decided to continue publicly reprimanding Israel? Is this to give more credence to the deal, for the Iran regime to believe that Donald Trump has his back, that they have some sort of fairness, so to speak, in Donald Trump? In the meantime, this is very dangerous, that the Iran regime will now believe that they can use their proxies to wedge this gap further and further between Israel and the United States.
Interesting. I don't know whether you heard me talking to my previous guest on this topic, Lisa. Brian Talabi, who was expressing his speculation actually about the fact that it's the Iranian people have been helped, obviously, clearly, by America and Israel together, but it is now up to them to rise up against the authorities in that country, and that somehow they need to be armed to do so. I'd love to know your opinion on that.
Absolutely. Look, before February 28th and well after whatever deal is signed, the Iranian people will be left with their own reality. And the bottom line is this: the regime can perhaps be forgiven for their transgressions by Donald Trump, but at home they face the biggest ally and biggest challenge of all, which is the majority of 90 million people who have not forgotten and will not forgive this regime for the thousands of executions, for the 47 years of suppression and executions and lack of freedoms that the Iranian people have endured. Here in Los Angeles last night, the soccer game between Iran's regime, I should say, and New Zealand was just a small microcosm of what the Iranian people can do and will do when they have freedom to express themselves against the regime. The diaspora here came out in droves with the old Iranian flag to stand up to the regime, because they believe that this soccer game and the soccer players are agents of the regime, and they're only brought here on U.S. soil to represent the regime. It was a magnificent showing of courage and strength of the Iranian people's resilience and motivation to go forward and to rid themselves, this world, of this regime. We all know, the Gulf Arab states know it, the Iranians know it. I know Donald Trump knows it, that the world would be a better place without the #1 state sponsor of terror. No matter how much lipstick we put on this pig, it will still be a terrorist pig. And we're just giving them more time, money, and kicking the can down the road at this point.
This response from President Trump about Netanyahu, though, that we've seen today, is this in response to criticism from some of the MAGA base, particularly, and others inside America, that he is beholden to this man that we're seeing on screen, that actually it's Netanyahu who has the power?
Potentially, but I think it just so happens that it echoes, and dangerously so, echoes what they've been doing and saying very damagingly to the United States and to Israel for months. I do believe Donald Trump is more apprehensive about this deal falling apart. He has set his sights forward to the day after this whole Iran war is over. He could focus on the economy, reestablishing everything, meaning gas prices, looking forward towards the midterm elections, just really focusing on America and making all those quantitative numbers look better for him, because he's been obviously under a lot of scrutiny because of those numbers now, and doesn't want to deal with this Iran issue any further. He doesn't want it to be dragged out. The Iran regime is making it very difficult because they're asking for everything in the kitchen sink, right? So we started out with our strategic imperative being nuclear weapons. We're now talking about Hormuz. He calls it a victory when he has only talked about Hormuz so far, and we haven't even gotten to the nitty-gritty regarding nuclear weapons, which we will address this Friday. Now, if you ask me, will they give up their enriched uranium? Will they just pack it up and ship it out? No. I don't know how Donald Trump will, in fact, bridge that gap to get the deal that he wants, or at least give off the impression that we have some sort of deal, when I know that they will not play along when it comes to their nuclear program. Now they're negotiating Hezbollah and the war in Lebanon. How can Donald Trump negotiate on behalf of Israel? Israel is not an American state. As close as the two leaders are, as close as they were in fighting this war, they have not seen the MOU from what I understand. They have not been brought into the discussions about negotiation. So how is Donald Trump supposed to tell Israel what to do when it comes to their existentialism, when it comes to actually defending themselves and their borders and their security and their civilians? How can we expect them to listen to us just because we want to strike a deal? Israel will have to do what Israel has to do to protect itself and its citizens, just like any other country has to do the same.
Okay, Lisa, good to see you. Thank you. We've all got our fingers crossed here, haven't we, for the right outcome. Lisa Daftari there. Let me talk to my panel about this. Eric, let me ask you on Iran and this deal. Those people who know that country as well as Lisa does, and Brian, who was just here earlier as well, they're optimistic, but there's still a huge amount of caution from them about the fact that this is all sorted, because they still have this frustration that the mullah get treated like equals, and they are not.
Well, after this deal, they will not only be equals, but they will be the most powerful country in the region, if what we're seeing in terms of what is in this deal is actually true. We know when the JCPOA was implemented under President Barack Obama, we know 97% of the uranium that was enriched was actually removed. We know that more than 13,000 centrifuges were actually removed as well. And it's important to note that you had a multilateral, multinational conglomerate that was part of the process to enforce and ensure that Iran was not enriching uranium. What we know about this deal right now is that none of those nations are involved in the enforcement, which means that basically anything at this point can happen. And the fact that what we're seeing right now is that Iran undeniably controls the Strait of Hormuz means that they can control 20% of the world's goods that travel through that strait at any given time, which means they have to be treated as an equal, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, Reem?
And before this war, the Strait of Hormuz was open. I think that what's interesting about this conversation around Trump scolding Netanyahu and the way in which there has been this sort of internal battle within the Republican Party, within the GOP, in which lots of people are now increasingly critical of CPAC and, of course, of the relationship between the Israeli government and the American government. Now, of course, the special relationship is a second special relationship that Trump has had with Netanyahu has meant that a lot of people have said that this war was encouraged by Netanyahu. I somewhat disagree with our last guest. I do think that the question of whether or not Israel is defending its borders and defending itself, bombing Lebanon is not a part of that defense, and I don't think that there is any defensive justification for those particular attacks. We've got to be honest about this. This deal is extraordinarily vulnerable. We all want the war to be over. We all want the Strait of Hormuz to be open, and we all want oil prices to come down. But whether or not that is actually going to happen, I still think is sort of up in the air.
Yeah, let's go to London. Now, I still am optimistic. I am still positive, guys, that this is the start of something incredibly special in our lifetime, Paul, in the Middle East. Do you still hold that hope? I think we have to.
I think we need to really look at a serious deal here. This has been something that's been going on for a long time with Iran. a permanent military presence out in the Northern Arabian Gulf for nearly 50 years because of the threat of them closing the Strait of Hormuz and holding that economic power hold, which was the inevitable, and it happened. I mean, I was deployed there myself in the Royal Navy. I just want to pick up on a comment that was made there about Israel bombing Lebanon. 60,000 people had to be moved from the northern border of Israel because of rockets being fired by Iran's proxy, Hezbollah. Israel is not at war with Lebanon. They are taking on Hezbollah, which is now building tunnels under schools, hospitals, any other civilian building, and that's why they're being targeted, and they're being funded and supported by the Iranian regime. And it's just one of the proxies that they have in the region, and indeed the Lebanese army haven't been able to deal with it, and therefore citizens of Israel have had to be moved, and indeed they have suffered and died under those rocket attacks. So there's certainly an ultimatum required because of Iran's impact in the region and the world. 22 terror attacks, we believe, have been foiled here now by the intelligence services. This isn't something where we can continue with the orthodoxy. Something has to change. We know that in the Ukraine at the moment there are Iranian-made Shahed drones being deployed as well. This network of influence, malign influence, is growing.
But Paul, is there any point in taking out Iran if you don't take out the proxies who cause problems for all of us in the West?
No, there's not. To answer your original question, we must have hope. Of course, hope is incredibly important in situations like this. But hope is not always attached to the reality of the moment. And I thought Lisa Daftari's tone was very interesting. The Daftari, as I like to call her. She's always says something incredibly interesting. And her tone was, hang on a minute. It's Israel that have got to live with this situation once whatever deal is agreed is signed. So let's not be too hasty to criticise Bibi Netanyahu. Because, as everybody's pointed out so far, it's him that's still fighting the proxies, and it's his country that will be destroyed should Iran get their own way. It'd be obviously the first country to be destroyed if Iran was to get ultimate power in that region. My worry is that a deal, and doing a deal with terrorists, which is something that many leaders have said they would never do, Margaret Thatcher included. And I think Donald Trump at one point said he wouldn't, but he is doing a deal with terrorists, and he has no choice but to do it, because who else can he do it with? By doing that deal with them, he's empowering them. And a lot of this stuff's about optics. You can show your people that Donald Trump is taking you seriously, the most powerful man in the world is taking you seriously, and they will believe that they are winning, particularly when he is negative about Netanyahu. Now, that could all be brinkmanship. We have no idea what's going on in the background. What's said in public is probably a million miles removed from what's actually going on. And he could well be doing that in some game of 6D chess I don't understand. I play drafts, so this isn't something that I'm familiar with. But I think we have to be extra cautious with what's going on here, because this isn't just peace in the Middle East, which is, I believe, almost impossible all the time Iran have the power they still have. But this affects the whole world. And as Eric pointed out, 20% of the world's cargo goes through the Straits of Hormuz. When it's that big a percentage, it doesn't matter who you vote for, you're getting impacted.
Yeah. Yeah, OK, let's move on. Thanks, guys. I want to talk about this because it's closer to home. A new survey has found that parents of teenagers are typically expecting that they will have to support their children financially until they are 26. It found that 1 in 14 parents expect to have to move to a bigger house so that their children can continue to live with them into adulthood. That might be where these parents are going wrong. Savings and investments firm M&G, who commissioned the findings, advised that parents may have to reassess their long-term financial planning if these findings are borne out. So what accounts for a generation who are increasingly having to rely on the bank of mum and dad? As our youngster, Reem, I feel I should come to you on this. No offence, fellas. No offence, me and Paul. I don't know how old Stuart is, actually. We've never met Stuart before, I don't think. Have we, Stuart? How old are you, Stuart, if you don't mind me asking?
We haven't had the pleasure. I am 34 years young.
That is young.
Okay, so you are way younger than anybody else here.
Look,
I mean, yeah, go on.
I think this is really interesting.
Hang on, let me just hang on, Stuart. Let me just ask Reem, as somebody that has a keen eye on free market economics and is also young and living on the other side of the world. Go on, Reem.
Yes, well, I'm 23 years old, and I did move out of my parents' house at a very young age in comparison to a lot of my peers. My brother is the age that I moved out of my parents' house, and he is still at home. I do think what's interesting about this is the conversation around intergenerational inequality. So we are seeing more and more taxpayer money be spent on the elderly, especially those that are extraordinarily wealthy. We know that 25% of pensioners are millionaires, and at the same time, young people are being asked to foot the bill. So those that actually are in work are, of course, asked to then extraordinarily spend enormous amount of money on the state. But at the same time, 1 in 9 under 24-year-olds, those between 16 and 24, are on universal credit. Young people are really struggling to find jobs, and at the same time, those that are able to find jobs are being taxed to the oblivion. Now, part of the 1 in 9 between 16 and 24. Part of the problem is we are seeing an enormous amount of regulations and red tape on the labour market. So the way in which the government have said, we are going to give all these young people more rights. And of course, those rights cost employers money, real time, real bureaucracy. And of course, that then means that they end up hiring less people. When you raise the minimum wage, that money doesn't just come from magic, it actually comes from somewhere. And of course, those businesses just end up hiring more experienced people because they cost the same. So all of these employment regulations and restrictions have meant that young people are really, really struggling. Add on top of that housing costs, the regulations on building that make it extraordinarily expensive to buy a house. In the 90s, a house was about 2 to 3 times the average salary. Now it's about 10 times the average salary. And so young people are, of course, far more sort of restricted in what they're able to do economically, and it means they want to live at home longer.
And also, though, isn't it that you all just are really spendy at your age? You're really spendy. You are, your generation, and I'd say probably millennials. You just go through money. You think things that we would have considered to be a luxury item are a necessity. How many times growing up, Paul Cox, did you have a takeaway during the week?
I would be very lucky to get one. I'd be very lucky to get one a week. I vaguely remember us getting a chippy most, or if not every other Friday. The chip shop was next to the video shop. Reem, you won't know what a video shop is. I have literally got underpants older than you. But next to the chip shop was a video shop. We'd rent a video, get some fish and chips, and that would be our Friday night. So yeah, that was definitely a once a week maximum treat.
Stuart, how often do you have a Deliveroo, a takeaway, and Uber Eats? And of course, we had to go and pick it up. You get it delivered straight to your house as well. How often do you do that?
More than I should, but that's probably because the market has enabled that to happen, and it employs a lot of people and creates a lot of economic output doing that. You know, our marketplace and our economy has changed vastly, you know, and we've got a lot of people being employed by it. But I just want to come back to something that Reem said there.
No. So what you're telling me is when you're using a delivery takeaway app, because you can't be bothered to cook as a millennial, you're doing it for the sake of the migrants and the economy. Well, then don't complain if you can't afford the deposit on a house.
I'm doing it mainly for the state of my hunger, I have to admit. But look, they're a large player in the economy now. Our economy has evolved since Paul's earlier spring chicken years when he was having those chippy teas. But you know, and it has changed vastly. But I'll speak to that. I think there is a psychological element to why people make that life decision to perhaps have more of the smaller luxuries. Look, it does contribute to the economy, but I think they look at the situation with the cost of housing, which is completely unachievable for them to buy it, and they look at what is achievable, and I think a lot of the time it's smaller things, because let's look at the correlation between house prices, mainly because of supply, and wages. The correlation has massively changed. It would be in in the 1970s about 2.5 times the average yearly salary. It's now in excess of 10. So the economies of affording to buy a home, including for renting as well, has changed. But I don't think it's necessarily regulation to do with employment and how people are employed and tax regulation. I think it's just a major player in this is the housing supply, and we need to build more houses that people have to live in, so the supply actually creates an economy where they can be afforded.
I agree with that, I get that, but I think for mine and Paul's generation, I don't know your particular circumstances, Eric, we'll come to you next, but buying a house was something that you saved up for. You literally budgeted and you went without other things.
How can you save if you've not got a job?
Oh, the 10% who are on universal credit is diabolical.
But one in 4 working age people are not in work. Vacancies are dropping like that, and that's why I think to respond to Stuart's point about regulation and tax nothing to do with it, it absolutely has a lot to do with it. If you're a young person and you cannot find a job, saving for a deposit isn't even in the question. What you're thinking about is putting food on the table, or indeed trying to stay with mum and dad for a little bit longer if you've got that privilege. The problem is the government have increased the tax burden so significantly to pay for welfare and benefits, predominantly for the elderly, that we definitely cannot afford, and at the same time said we're going to give you all these lovely new rights, the employment rights bill.
I get that, but you've also got to but you've also, as a young person, you've got to go, well, that is the situation we are now in, and yes, I can be angry about that while I eat my Deliveroo takeaway on a Friday night. Lots of young people are just leaving. Or
lots of young people are just going to Dubai.
And I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. But I think there's a lot of poor me with the younger generation sometimes, who looking at the older generation, as we were just saying that about the millionaires there are, and I don't think they're cash millionaires. A lot of pensioners are, their property is their pension pot effectively. They've saved up and they've put that money aside, and they didn't do takeaways 2 or 3 times a week. Eric, come in.
Well, in the United States, I think the problem that you all are talking about, it's plaguing young people here as well. And we're talking about the Generation Y as well as younger millennials, and they are just unable to purchase homes and secure what we normally see as the American dream.
Well, President Trump's just helping you on that, though.
Helping who?
In the fact that there's legislation meaning that these personal houses now can't be bought up by these huge investment banks and these huge property development companies.
That has nothing to do with
leave them available to more individuals. I think that's an amazing thing to do. Go on, Eric.
No, because what we're seeing in the United States right now, inflation has risen to where it's the highest in more than 20 years.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, of course.
Prices are actually outpacing stagnant wages right now, and so it's not just about a home, but it's also about rising rents, the price of food, and for people right now in an economy where it's struggling, and we're not just seeing young people that are also struggling, we're talking about people who are much older. The cost of health insurance now, many people have been cut. So I think it's a problem that we're seeing plaguing a lot of people across a lot of different age groups.
Can I just for one moment very quickly put this all into context? Eric is talking about how difficult things are for young people in America, and yet Britain is poorer than the poorest state in the US. Britain is poorer than Mississippi. Can we all just understand how poor Britain really is? People in America are talking about the issues in this country, and they do not realise how privileged Americans are because they have economic freedom. The size of the state is far smaller. Taxes are far lower. I am economically better off having moved to America, even if I had the exact same salary that I did in the UK, because I am taxed less, regulated less, and restricted less. America is rich not because of a fluke, but because they have made policy decisions that have meant that Americans are richer.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all. We're still having too many deliveries.
I mean, I think there's a few other things to take into account. We've got to move on, Stuart, hang on. We've got to move on to another story now. In a speech later today, Attorney General Lord Hermot will reportedly say that senior figures in the Leave campaign during the referendum appear to be distancing themselves from the promises that they made. A debate over the future of the UK's relationship with the EU has reignited recently after the Prime Minister made closer ties with Brussels, a key pillar of his recent reset. The Attorney General, one of Sir Keir Starmer's key allies in government,
will say, apparently, that politicians who brought the country Brexit have left his Labour administration cleaning up the mess. I am so tired of hearing people say that they're still, hearing Labour MPs particularly saying, oh, we've been left with this horrible Brexit mess and we just have to clear it up. Stuart, come in on that.
Look, as somebody that voted to leave the European Union, the deal that the previous Conservative government made has shackled us with some quite serious issues, especially when we talk about trade, further economics, and even the lack of any real integrated deal to deal with immigration, and specifically illegal immigration in terms of share agreements. So yeah, it has caused issues. I think if people would have had the say on what deal they got, should we leave the European Union or not, that would have been, you know, a different consideration. So there has been ripple effects. There's a lot of things specifically to do with trade and bilateral agreements with EU member states that have created serious challenges for our industries.
Paul, what do you make of it? This idea that senior figures in the Leave campaign are distancing themselves now from the promises that they made. Who's he talking about?
Well, he's not talking about Nigel Farage. He's talking about perhaps people that were in the Conservative Party. I always go back to Boris Johnson. It always feels like Boris Johnson to me. It feels like Boris Johnson did a particularly bad job of Brexit. Also, it's worth bearing in mind that although it's 10 years ago now, or the campaign was probably 12 years ago, Boris Johnson only made his mind up to be a Brexiteer once David Cameron had come down on the side that he wanted. So David Cameron, there was a pause. People will forget this, 2014, 2015, and which way's Cameron going to go? Which way's Cameron going to go? Cameron's going to go Remain. OK, so Boris, who had already written 2 campaigns, went the opposite way, and as a result, once he got into power, I don't ever believe that he ever truly believed in Brexit properly. Now, he did enough to win the 2019 election. I'm very glad that he did, because that put pay to this horrible situation that we had in the British Parliament in 2019. But subsequently, after which, he managed to, I think, do a very, very, very bad deal. And nearly everything we can look at now, just look at Northern Ireland last week. Nearly all of the issues, you know, other than the attempted beheading, were directly related to the fact that anybody can pass into the United Kingdom on a bus. No checks, you can come from wherever you like, and that is part of Boris Johnson's Brexit deal, Bev. So I can't help but think Boris Johnson's at the centre of this.
Oh, absolutely. That is his legacy. Reem, if you had been old enough, would you have voted to Remain or Leave?
Well, at the time, I would have voted to Remain because I was a horrible lefty teenager. But if you ask me now, I'm absolutely supportive of the UK's exit from the European Union. The EU is a bureaucratic, unaccountable mess. And really, quite crucially, I personally am pro-Brexit because I believe in more economic freedom. You know, tomorrow, we could abolish all tariffs and quotas and we would be richer. Britain would be a richer country. We've also got to be very clear about the fact that Brexit was about regaining control. We have so many levers that we could pull. We have so many regulations that the EU have imposed on Britain that we could repeal. But we haven't. We haven't repealed a single one. We haven't actually really regained all of those freedoms. And actually, we've got the freedom to make those choices. We just don't have the politicians that really know what to do with those freedoms.
Eric?
You know, for the last 70 years, the United States has actually led the effort of multilateralism. And now we're seeing here in the U.S. where you do have a particular party that has been pushing for a more isolated approach to foreign policy, and we're seeing how that's working for the United States and its limitations, not only on issues surrounding the war in Iran, but also many other issues, and particularly around the issue of trade. And so I think what Brexit should be a cautionary tale, quite frankly, for the United States as we see an administration that continues to move the United States away and farther away from its allies and the rest of the world.
Bev. Just looking at some of the your says coming in here. Sorry, Stuart, let me just hang on. There's a lot of old people are very cross with you.
every time I mention pensions, people get mad. But listen, 25% of millionaires.
Linda said she would have us all euthanised. Is that true, Ree?
I would not have pensioners euthanised. That is an outrageous accusation.
How many would you euthanise?
Not all of them, she said.
Not all of them. Maybe no, I'm joking. No, I wouldn't have any of them. Listen, I love my grandparents. My grandparents are wonderful people. They are pensioners. They are definitely not millionaires. I will say, I don't think that Lord Alan Sugar should be getting a taxpayer-funded benefit. I don't think that that is a radical position to take.
Still to come this evening on The Late Show Live.
Yeah, now I'm here with England. I'm at the World Cup, and that's all the focus is on. Trying to win the World Cup and get the second star for the country.
England playing Croatia in their first World Cup match. Tomorrow night for us, it's tonight for you lot in the UK. Ben Leo is in Dallas to talk to the fans in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Quick look at your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. There is warmer and sunnier weather on the way, but for today we're starting the day with a lot of grey. It's damp as well. It will feel muggy through the day. It's certainly been a warm start for many of us, but, well, a fairly dreary one. A lot of low cloud, mist and murk around western hills and coasts. There'll be further outbreaks of rain coming and going, increasingly showery by the afternoon, with some drier and brighter interludes emerging, and as the sun comes out, temperatures will reach the low to mid-20s, all part of a general warming trend as we go through the rest of the week. But actually, the end of the day doesn't look half bad. There will be some clear skies across Scotland. Plenty of showers, but in between the showers, especially in the east and through the central belt, some decent sunshine. Northern Ireland, likewise, a mix of sunny spells and showers, the showers easing a little as we go through the evening. Northern England, parts of Wales, after that damp and grey start, actually, the best of the sunshine comes along late in the day. Likewise for the southeast of England, still some rain here and there across central parts, but even that fizzles away overnight. And then overnight it's dry for many at first, but another batch of wet weather moves into Ireland, reaches Northern Ireland by dawn, parts of southwestern Scotland, North Wales and northern Scotland. It's another warm night. Temperatures in the south 17 or 18 Celsius, low teens further north. Some brightness around first thing Thursday, especially across the Midlands, eastern England as well. Towards the northwest, it's increasingly wet. Some heavy and persistent rain into Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, Northern England and North Wales. A real northwest-southeast split developing by the afternoon. Plenty of sunshine towards the southeast. Temperatures reaching 28 Celsius.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, tomorrow night there's a big football match happening, but I would much rather you watch Patrick Christie's at 9 o'clock. England are going to be playing Croatia. It's not going to be any big deal. We've sent Ben Leo there to Dallas, so he can tell you all about it. Just watch the Late Show tomorrow night and find out what happened, because manager Thomas Tuchel has been putting the likes of Harry Keane and Declan Rice through their paces as the Three Lions get ready. England fans in their thousands have been travelling miles, and they're braving the heat to cheer them on. Bookies have placed England as the third favourites behind France and Spain. But could this sour festivities slightly? The Daily Mail is reporting that England fans have been told they cannot bring certain flags into the stadium, particularly if they're honouring dead. And you've seen them, they have like a silhouette of a soldier with a rifle. Apparently you can't show a picture of a gun in the stadium. And England fans are apparently facing being ejected if they make anti-Keir Starmer chanting. We're going to go to Ben in just a moment to see what's going on there, but let me, who wants to start on the, oh, Reen, there she goes, I knew she would. I don't know why I asked.
Ben earlier was saying that a lot of the fans actually weren't that bothered by this, and they were like, you know what, we're just here to have a good time. But interestingly, what Ben also said is that only about 4,000 fans fans actually have tickets to the game
I was
tomorrow.
surprised by
Whereas
that.
there are about 15,000 England fans over in Dallas, so they're all just having a good time. So we've got to remember, FIFA can't regulate what happens in a pub.
Yeah, let's go to Ben now. Ben Leo is with us now, I believe. Ben, we're just talking about the fact that there's only going to be 4,000 England supporters in the crowd, Ben, tomorrow.
Yeah, sorry, Bev, I got half your question there. Yeah, there's only going to be, I think you mentioned about the supporters in the stadium, only around 4,000 England fans in the stadium tomorrow, the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, for the Croatia game. Likewise, the Croatia fans, really sad, bearing in mind it's a, 70, 80,000 seater stadium. So 4,000 England, 4,000 Croatia. The rest, who knows, prawn sandwich brigade, corporate tickets, probably neutral football fans as well. So, yeah, a bit of a shame for the England fans, but it seems to be the theme of this World Cup. It's all about money. You've got the water breaks every 25 minutes for commercials, TV commercials, ticket prices through the roof. The ticket prices from FIFA at the start of the tournament were around $1,500, one ticket for the final. They're now, Bev, get this, $32,000 for the most expensive ticket in the World Cup final. The others are pretty hefty as well. So, yeah, it's a very commercial World Cup, unfortunately. And when it comes to the working man's game, well, has to be said, it's not really that anymore at the World Cup, at least. Come with me at the Harwood Arms. Let's see if we can spot some England fans. Unfortunately, full of Argentina fans at the moment, because Argentina are playing. They're playing Algeria. We've got a couple down here. Hello, guys. How you doing? What's your name?
Chris.
Chris. Ben, nice to meet you.
I'm Georgia. Nice to meet you.
Georgia, nice to meet you. Where are you guys from? Where did you come from?
London.
London?
Yeah, London.
Both from London?
Yeah.
Apart from the obvious question, why did you want to fork out so much money and time and travel to come here?
We love London, and I love the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, of course.
Ah, yeah, because England are playing at the Cowboys Stadium tomorrow.
Yeah.
Are the cheerleaders going to be there for the England game?
Bloody hope so. It's money, not to that either.
I hope so as well. And who do you support back home?
Liverpool.
Liverpool. Nice. And what do you think the score's going to be tomorrow?
I reckon 2-1 to Croatia.
How much have you spent coming here on this trip, and what's your plans? Are you going home after tomorrow?
We're not going home after tomorrow. We're doing a bit of a tour of the US, but yeah, it cost a fair bit to get over it. But we went to a fair few of the England games, so we managed to get tickets through the Supporters Travel Club. So it's a little bit cheaper than some people have been quoting, but it was still like the most expensive I've ever paid for any.
Really?
Games.
Yeah, that's what lots of people are saying. And how are other fans? Which countries have you enjoyed hanging out with?
None, only England.
There we go. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Let's walk down the line. There's a big queue here, Bev, to see to get into the Harwood Arms. No relation to Tom Harwood. Let's see who we can find. There's a Turkey fan here. Turkey?
And Bosnia.
And Bosnia?
Yeah.
Oh, they're 1-1 Bosnia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did you travel from?
I'm from here.
I'm from America.
Yeah.
Good man. Enjoy.
Thank
We've got Argentina fans. England. Come on, England. All right, let's see if we can find some. There's the Barcelona, Argentina. Hello. Are you enjoying the football?
I am. I love it.
Are you American or Argentinian? Argentinian. Okay.
Mexican.
Oh, you're Mexican?
Yes, I am.
What do you think of England?
I love it. I saw the game earlier. 4-1, I think.
England, they play tomorrow.
Yeah, and tomorrow too.
Yeah.
Ooh, are you ready?
There are some British people. They helped us park our car. You see that red car right there?
They helped us
We were
park.
like, how do we back up? And they were
so
like
nice.
so sweet.
Are the English fans your favourite fans?
Honestly, yeah. Out of everyone.
Right answer. Right answer. Thank you, guys. Is that a QPR top?
No, that's Flamengo's from Brazil.
Oh, sorry. It looks like Queen's Park Rangers in London.
No. Flamengo's way better than the looks like Queen's Park Rangers. Queens is a small club. Flamengo is the biggest one.
Ah, got it. Where did you travel from?
We live here in Dallas, but we're from Brazil.
Good man. And who do you want to win the World Cup?
Brazil, of course. Neymar.
Brazil.
Neymar is coming hot.
They struggled against Morocco.
Yeah, but
a little bit.
We just the first game. Just the first game.
Good man. Thank you, guys. Let's see if we can find any England fans. All the England fans, to be honest, Bev, they've gone home. Any England fans here? Any England fans? England? Ladies, where are you from? American?
Yeah.
You're American. Who are you supporting? Who's on your top?
Spain and France.
Spain and France. Okay.
We did well today.
Boo. Right. You guys look English. You English?
Not English, but
no. Okay, there we go. Who are you supporting at this World Cup?
England, of course.
Oh, good man, good man. How is it having the World Cup here as an American? Is it good for the country, for the nation?
So we came down from Detroit
to see England play. And we're really excited about it tomorrow.
Yeah, Croatia. Yeah, we're going to do them. Thank you for your support. Yes, Bev. Sorry, I just caught you there, Bev.
Where to go? We're all English fans to see tomorrow.
How do you feel about Harry Kane not making the squad? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Harry Kane's in the squad.
Oh, he is? I thought Bellamy was kind of fixing to be the starting attack.
No, Harry Kane's there. He's our only goal scorer. We need him. Bev, go on. Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. I love the fact that the Americans saw you there as the sports correspondent, Ben. They took their moment to get some inside sports knowledge from you. I'm just wondering a little bit about where you are. Like, are you on the outskirts of the stadium? Is that the stadium we can actually see behind you, or is that just a big car park? Like, how is it all set up for the fans to accommodate people?
No, so the game is the stadium is in Arlington, which is it's outside Dallas. It's how many miles? I'd say 8 or so miles from where we are. Pretty hard to get to, actually. We were speaking to England fans earlier who were saying there's no public transport there. You can't park anywhere near the stadium, and the nearest train station is still around 20 to 25 minutes walk. So it's pretty tough for England fans going there tomorrow. It's going to be a long journey. And in terms of where you watch it in Dallas, you've got official FIFA fan zones. There's one a few miles down the road. You've got pubs like here, the Harwood Arms. There's another English pub as well, and there's a pub. Well, what's the pub? Is it the Lion something? There's another pub here as well, which is good. The Londoner, sorry, there we go, quite apt. Where lots of England fans will be going tomorrow night as well. So most fans, Bev, will be watching from pubs and fan zones, which is a shame. They should be in the stadium.
And has the city put on lots of those things? You just told us a few of them there, but Ben, keep your eyes here. There's a lady in very short shorts behind you. You can see that, ladies and gentlemen. Keep focused. There's lots of very attractive women walking around in very small outfits. If you're listening on the radio, it's probably... Yeah, they didn't get past me, Mr. Leo. But I'm just saying, what have they done to accommodate the fans in the area? Like you say, you've got these fan zones. Is it going to be enough? Because what keeps striking me is how many Americans are there in football kit that's not necessarily their country.
No, the Americans love it, and like I said, there was one official FIFA fan zone where people can go, but the bars in Boston at least, and I think here in Dallas as well, normally they close around 2 a.m, but they've been extended for an hour till 3 a.m, so still not great, especially the other night when Scotland beat Haiti in Boston. The Scotland fans were strewn all across the city, partying well into the night, and it was a shame because the bars were closed. And also the FIFA fan zone, the official FIFA fan zones, they're only open 1 hour before the games start and 1 hour afterwards. That was in Boston. So again, that's a bit of a shame. But the Americans really love soccer, as they call it. The women, actually, the women's football team led the way in the years past. They were well ahead of the rest of the world when it came to women's football, and it's now catching up. The Premier League is massive here. Lots of people wearing Arsenal and Premier League, Man United shirts. So yeah, they're catching on. The only thing I will say about it, English football fans find it all a little bit too Americanized. The water breaks. In the final, there's going to be a massive sort of Super Bowl style opener, 30 minutes of music and fireworks and so on, which, you know, you don't typically get, but is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know.
I don't know. I think probably if you paid all that money to go there, you want to get as much of a sort of performance out of it as you possibly can, I suppose, and as much of a spectacle as you can get out of your occasion there. I mean, it's so busy, Ben. It looks so great. So do you think it'll all stay pretty peaceful?
I've just spotted some Croatia fans, I think.
Go on, go and have a chat with them. Go and tell them how we're going to beat them.
I'm going to go speak to the Croatia.
Don't get...
Guys, you in Croatia?
Yes.
Is that Croatia?
Argentina.
Oh, it's not. That's Croatia.
It's Croatia.
Yeah. How you doing? We're English TV in London.
Oh, really?
Are you looking forward to the game? You're American, I take it.
I'm American, yeah.
Why do you choose to wear a Croatia top?
Because my grandparents are Croatian.
Oh, very cool. I heard a stat today that there's only around 4 million Croatians.
Yeah, there's very little.
But there's 1.4 million in the United States.
Worldwide.
Why is that link between Croatia and the US? How did that come around?
I don't know. I think it mainly is because to look for a better life. So I think that's the main purpose of it.
And where are you from? Dallas?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Is there a big sort of Croat community where you're from?
There's not that big, but we have some numbers there.
Yeah. And what's the score going to be tomorrow? What's the score going to be tomorrow, bearing in mind you're on UK TV?
2-0 Croatia.
Ah, there we go. There we go. We'll see what happens. Thank you, my man. Appreciate it. Bev, there we go. There's a USA fan there. Yeah, Americans love it. As you can see, they're all wearing different nationalities. Yeah, go on.
You did very well there not to correct him when he said it's going to be 2-0 to Croatia. Now that is an American man who's maybe doesn't watch that much football. 2-0, Eric Ham. Would you make that mistake? It's 2-0 in football. What's he talking about 2-0?
Absolutely, I would make that mistake. Have you never watched a soccer match?
Eric, how dare you? We have just both...
Actually, I take that back. I watched the women U.S. soccer team back in, I think it was 97 when the woman ripped the shirt off after the U.S. won. So it's been over 20 years. And I think that was, you know, as a casual person who knew nothing about the match. I was asleep through most of it.
Well, America had a really fantastic start to this World Cup. They won like 4-1 or something, didn't they?
They did very well.
Yeah.
Can I ask Ben a quick question before we go?
Of course you can.
Ben, I want to know what you think about these fans not being allowed to drink outside. So one of the really interesting things about America is they have open container laws, which unlike the UK means that you cannot have a beer on the street. Have any fans been caught up with that? I mean, you can get a fine of up to $1,000 for drinking outside.
I don't think, well, bearing in mind the England game is tomorrow, in Boston, the Scotland fans were drinking everywhere. They were literally, it was hilarious. They were climbing up lamp posts after the game, they were swigging cans, they were drinking everywhere. Very well behaved, I must say. Well, it was hilarious because at one point the police came past with a loudspeaker on their phone and they were telling one of the Scottish lads on top of a lamppost to get down or you're going to jail. They're saying, get down from the lamppost or you're going to jail. Ooh. It took him four announcements for him to finally get down. They didn't care. The Scotland fans were great, and actually I think the police have been really good. That they're, you know, whatever the rules are normally, they understand it's the World Cup. Everyone's having a good time, and also it's very well natured. It's not like a Millwall West Ham match where everyone's at their throats. You've got RGs mixing with the English lads having drinks and so on, and that's what the World Cup's about. Nations coming together, having a good time. Multiculturalism, dare I say, at its best.
Let's bring in our London guys as well. I'm sure that Stuart and Paul might have some questions for you. I'm looking at the You'll Say here as well. Martin has said, where has Dallas been all my life? And look at those girls. Hello. Paul Cox, question for Ben Leo.
Yeah, I mean, how do I apply for Ben's job for the next World Cup? I've got to move away from my family. It's terrible. I've been listening to this for a year. He's having the time of his life. He's at every football game. Ben Leo is a genius.
Yeah, but we...
I don't know the answer to that, Paul. I'm sorry.
We could smoke him on this, Paul. Does he even know the offside rule?
We are both incredibly fortunate. There's no doubt about that. And Ben is actually having... And listen, he's putting in the hours for the GB News viewers there. He is there so that we don't all have to be. Show your gratitude, Paul Cox.
Sorry, yeah. I'm just jealous. I'm just jealous, Bev.
Family.
I found some England fans. I found a couple of England fans. They're still here. Ladies, hello. Sorry to bother you. We're from GB News in London. We're just seeing if you're looking forward to the game tomorrow. Yeah, you looking forward?
We are. We're excited and we're ready for revenge.
Oh, you're Americans. I love that.
Well, I am. I'm first generation and they're from Birmingham.
Oh, you're from Birmingham, from Brum. Whereabouts in Birmingham?
Great Bar, King's Standing.
Very cool. And when did you travel over here for the game?
No, we lived here since '79.
Oh, why did you leave England?
For a job initially, and because we liked it so much, we decided to stay. And I had two boys at a time, and they loved the soccer and the swimming and everything else.
Do you miss the UK?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you miss about it? One thing.
The people's sense of humour.
Yeah, they don't.
Beat it.
They don't quite get it here, do they?
No, not at all.
Offended.
You're offended. The sarcasm goes over your head.
No, it doesn't. I inherited it.
Yeah, you got it. You know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. What are you drinking? Is that sherry?
I wish. It's hot tea.
It's what?
It's hot tea.
Tea?
Hot tea.
Hot tea?
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully tomorrow night you'll be on something a bit stronger.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much. There you go, Bev. Hot tea.
Brilliant. I thought you were going to nick a bit of a sherry there, Bev, which is a cup of tea. Of course it is. You're British.
So did I. I thought it was sherry. I would have had some, but it's hot tea.
I know. Well, we can leave you to it now. You've worked hard for us tonight, and we will be seeing you, of course, tomorrow night after the game, because the game is on 9 p.m. UK time, 40 minutes, I guess, there or thereabouts. We will be on Late Show Live after the game. Ben will be having coming to talk to us with all the reaction tomorrow night. Let me start my panel here. Where are you going to watch it, Reem?
I'm watching it at a pub in DC with a bunch of other British journalists.
Fantastic. She has invited me to go, but I work too hard to watch football in the afternoon. Eric Ham, watch the match tomorrow.
Yes, Bev.
Okay, good. Just do as you're told. Paul
You can
Potts,
come watch with me.
Where are you watching it, Paul?
I think I'm going to be watching it at home tomorrow, just because I get quite nervous with these games. I'm not a drinker anymore either. Not because there wasn't an incident. I just don't drink anymore, really, and so I probably won't go to the pub. So I'm probably just going to watch at home, Bev.
Nice. Cup of tea and a packet of biscuits. Stuart, what about you? Very briefly, are you watching the match? Where will you be?
I'm just waiting for Paul's invite, that's all. He said he's going to get the kettle on. So
he's a Labour councillor, he's not welcome.
Yeah, but next week it's going to be. Next week it'll be in the US. So there we go.
We bring the left and right together with the love of GB News and the love of football. What's not to like about that? Reem, Eric, Stuart, Paul Cox, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody at home. I will be back tomorrow night at midnight in the UK for all of the reaction after the footy.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. There is warmer and sunnier weather on the way, but for today we're starting the day with a lot of grey. It's damp as well. It will feel muggy through the day. It's certainly been a warm start for many of us, but, well, a fairly dreary one. A lot of low cloud, mist and murk around western hills and coasts. There'll be further outbreaks of rain coming and going, increasingly showery by the afternoon, with some drier and brighter interludes emerging, and as the sun comes out, temperatures will reach the low to mid-20s, all part of a general warming trend as we go through the rest of the week. But actually, the end of the day doesn't look half bad. There will be some clear skies across Scotland. Plenty of showers, but in between the showers, especially in the east and through the central belt, some decent sunshine. Northern Ireland, likewise, a mix of sunny spells and showers, the showers easing a little as we go through the evening. Northern England, parts of Wales, after that damp and grey start, actually, the best of the sunshine comes along late in the day. Likewise for the southeast of England, still some rain here and there across central parts, but even that fizzles away overnight. And then overnight it's dry for many at first, but another batch of wet weather moves into Ireland, reaches Northern Ireland by dawn, parts of southwestern Scotland, North Wales and northern Scotland. It's another warm night. Temperatures in the south 17 or 18 Celsius, low teens further north. Some brightness around first thing Thursday, especially across the Midlands, eastern England as well. Towards the northwest, it's increasingly wet. Some heavy and persistent rain into Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, Northern England and North Wales. A real northwest-southeast split developing by the afternoon. Plenty of sunshine towards the southeast. Temperatures reaching 28 Celsius.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5